sucked. Yeah. Hey, everyone.
We're here.
Okay, it's the Perch show with Joe and Sean. Geoff will probably be joining us soon. But yeah, it'll be good. He's finishing up the script, so
right. Sure he is.
Yeah, exactly. He's probably
anti-Green Lantern script, I assume.
Yeah, he's probably just watching, testing the water, seeing if it's worth coming in or not. But that's fun.
Probably, yeah. You don't go into the party. You sit outside and you wait to see who's cool, who's going in.
Absolutely. So, it's a shame that we're doing this like this week when like nothing interesting happens. There was no controversy, nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing at all. So I don't even know what we're going to be able to talk about since everyone's been getting along. It's weird.
I know, man. It's been so nice having no drama in comics. Like conventions are up and running. Everyone's happy about it. Everyone's being treated fairly, and they're happy about that, and not attacking each other for petty reasons.
No, of course. No one at all is pretending that a legend that has fundamentally changed comics from the mid-'80s to this very day, and possibly until we're all dead.
Mm-hmm.
It's so much, but yeah. So
are you talking about the Frank Miller thing, Joe?
That's his name, Frank Miller.
Yeah.
That's it. That guy.
Yeah,
that guy. Yeah. So, what do you think about that, Sean?
I was trying to think about how I'd answer this without getting myself into trouble from either side.
You're going to get in trouble anyway, so.
Yeah, that's true. Well, first of all, I have a few questions.
Sure.
They're still printing Holy Terror, right?
That's was it? I double checked. Legendary Comics is the publisher,
right?
That's putting this out. No one's mad at them. It's not like Frank Miller showed up there and was like, "You have to publish that." Like they made that choice to publish it. I looked it up on their website. When you go to search, it can't be found. It's very weird.
Is Frank Miller still making royalties off of Holy Terror?
I can't imagine that's really selling. I think if you go check, like year one, Dark Knight Returns are still like top 10 sellers on Amazon. So so that kind of sucks for Thought Bubble because they probably would have moved some books, and that might have been the last time that people in the UK would have been able to meet him and have a special moment with one of the most legendary comics creators of all time. But
did he apologize? Like, what are the facts there? Did he backpedal? Did he say, "I don't feel it anyway"? What did he actually say since then?
He did. He talked about. He didn't. The problem is he never said, "I'm sorry." That was the problem. But he had talked about multiple times how he couldn't make that book today because he's not the same person he was, and all of that, which I think counts.
Yeah. I mean, so I hate to play Perch and be in the middle here. I hate to be the dad of comics, the Bob Saget of comics in a way. But on one hand, I can see, hey, if Muslim people or Asian people or whoever people are feeling uncomfortable at my show, and they really feel like they're being maligned, and they really would feel better if I stepped in and affected it. I could see a reason for maybe me doing that. Whether or not you think that they're justified in feeling actually threatened. Hey, if that's the consensus, if we want a big happy family here, if some of you aren't feeling comfortable, then let's make a change. On the other hand, I feel like, this is capitalism, and this guy, it's like $50,000 to get Frank Miller to go anywhere, I imagine. He brings in a lot of names. Like a lot of names at that show would benefit from Frank's appearance. So I do see both sides. I kind of feel like what I would have done is said, Frank, we're getting some people who are kind of miffed at this. How about you guys agree to go on stage at the show and have a friendly debate and discuss the topic? Of course, Frank Miller will probably say no because he only has everything to lose, and the other party only has everything to gain. And at that point, Frank would probably bow out and cancel. And then as the show, you don't bear the brunt. You don't get blamed for, canceling Frank Miller. It's like, hey, we offered him a platform to defend his book, and he opted out. So it is what it is. So let's all have a show with whoever else who wants to come here. And that would have been that.
Yeah. I mean, the big thing with this is, it's 10 years old. He's done a lot of cons and done other books since then. And now people care, which is very weird. Yeah. Him not going, I'm sure they lost money because they had to pay him something, an appearance fee, and I'm sure that was like a non-refundable kind of thing because they're kicking him out of the show. Yeah. They're going to get tickets either refunded or they're going to lose sales on that. Like, no one wins. This is
and the precedent it sets too. I think Perch was the first to bring this up. What happens now? I have a show. Let's say you and me start a convention and we want Frank Miller to be there. Sure. Are we going to just get dogpiled with people that are pissed off? And can Frank never go to a show again? I mean,
Frank's actually going to be at Baltimore Comic Con. So.
Oh, is he? Well, everyone go sign protests.
Yeah, no one seems to care about that. But and he's been confirmed there for a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just going to enjoy some peach for Loco while we have this conversation.
I'm 2 cocktails in, so I'm going to just drink water like a pussy for a while. I hope that's okay.
That's fine. But yeah, I mean, there's, the other thing too, Howard Chaykin's at Baltimore. Don't people know that they were mad at Howard Chaykin 4 or 5 years ago?
Yeah. It's funny. I've met Frank. I've had dinner with him, and I like Frank. He has a very similar sense of humor that I do, kind of a dark sense of humor. He has a lot of multicolored, multi-ethnic friends who I'm sure he jokes around with, and they joke back at him. And it's hard to imagine, feeling like this guy's threat in some way. But the very nature of, if the industry condones this book, which Perch said is you can read it as racist, certainly.
Sure.
Should we do some house cleaning and stop that from continuing? That's the question.
Yeah, and Nerdette, hi Nerdette, asked why we were mad at Howard, and that was because of divided states of hysteria, and somehow that turned into he was transphobic.
And I gotta give Nerdette a shout out. Her selfie game is always on. Good facial lighting. I'm guessing she has an O-ring or whatever that thing's called. What's it called? What's that thing? It's like a halo. That's what it is. It's a halo. Great eyeshadow. I think again, good branding there.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I only recently started drinking For Loco again because I've been paying attention to what's going on in comics. So
what's going on with For Loco?
Well, they originally had a caffeine in it, and then the big government told them it was dangerous for your health. So they changed that. But yeah, I mean, I used to be able to down 2 of these in a night. And, I can't do that anymore. But those are some good times. But yeah, I mean, at some point, because of how this was handled, it's like, does that mean that John Byrne isn't going to be allowed at cons because he's an asshole?
Yeah.
It's a weird road to go down. And I was talking to you about this before we went live, but the pendulum does swing. And it's not always going to be like this. And if 10 years from now,
right,
other people, let's say people on the other side decide, we don't feel safe because this writer or artist worked on a book that was about, either defunding the police or something like that. And it's like, well, now you're talking, I don't feel safe because this person's an anarchist that doesn't want, public safety and all of that. And then that person gets pulled. Where does these are bad. This doesn't help anybody. Is the problem. It only causes strife.
No, I was in St. Louis buying a car, and I was in the cigar bar in St. Louis there's only one. Anyone who's listening from St. Louis, you probably know the one I'm talking about. And there were these two black dudes in the corner who were, black, typical like baggy pants, like, and my wife and I are there, and my impression of St. Louis was white people and black people don't talk to each other very easily. But I'm from New York, I don't care. So I went up to these guys, we started chatting. We were hanging out with these guys for like 3 hours. It was awesome. Turns out they were both cops. One guy was the chief of police the next town over. And we just lost a friend, a deputy, like a month before. The guy got shot on duty. And this whole BLM stuff was bubbling up at the time. This was like, 5 years ago. And I asked him what he thought about that. And he rolled his eyes, just like, man, in spirit, I understand what these people are saying. But as, an African-American police chief who has to find funding to help protect these protests, like, I wish that BLM would never show up. Like, I get what they're saying, but it's just a logistical nightmare. And he had a really interesting take on it. And the thing I learned is, like, cops are on the street. Things aren't black and white. And a lot of people who like to Monday morning quarterback what police should do really don't have any, and many times they don't have any idea what they're talking about. Yeah. And this guy, he hates bad cops just as much as you and I do. And, he's is all for the blue line. But, if things get out of line, if a cop's acting like an asshole, then he should get in trouble. And like, it's pretty cut and dry. And I'm like, man, that's so well said. And I'm white. I'm not allowed to say that, but I'm glad that you did. Yeah. So yeah, it's just really interesting. I guess is the point of that story.
There you go. But
so somebody asked me, someone in the comment section said, if Christians were protesting me at a convention because of punk rock Jesus, would I quit? Would I leave? And I guess the answer to that would be like, if the convention is paying me $25,000 to appear, and they decided that they didn't want me to come because of protests and these Christians were armed or really going to get rowdy, and they just thought it was safer for me not to go for the safety of everybody, I would listen. And I'd like to think I'd be like, fuck you, I'm going anyway. But, if I talk to the security guard, he's like, it's actually easier for everybody if you don't go, then I wouldn't go. Yeah.
No, it's a whole thing. But yeah, it just seems like it spiraled out of control very quickly. I don't understand why this happened this way. For a book that no one like. Here's one thing I will say: if the book just came out, this was the signing tour.
Yeah,
and people were genuinely like, "Look, I don't." No, I'm afraid, like a safety reason, because I don't know what kind of crowd a book like this is going to bring. I can, whether or not at my core I agree about kicking someone out or not, or disinviting them over that, I would understand that, like because it's an unknown quantity. We don't know what's going to happen. The book's been out for 10 years. We know what would happen. I can't imagine Frank has signed that many copies of that book in the past few years. I just can't. I can't imagine that being the case. I
wonder if sales have spiked because of this. Honestly, I would imagine there's some movement there in the numbers. Yeah,
I could see there being some of that, but yeah, it's such an odd situation. It's weird that that they thought to do this, and then it's weird that it happened, and then it's weirder that if you look at the tweet where they announced it, nearly everyone said "too late, not good enough" kind of responses to this convention.
The doubling down thing sort of threw me off. If I was the manager and PR person of the aggrieved party, I forget this person's name. I would have said, "Hey, you raised the point. Everyone piled on. The convention is doing what you asked. There's an opportunity here to say thank you. I wish it wouldn't. I wish that you had made this decision without being dogpiled, but I'm glad that you're doing this now," or whatever it is. Whether or not you agree with that person, but as their manager, I would have said maybe that's the way to handle it. I don't know if I would have suggested you should just double down and still be pissed off. But, again, that's just as a manager position. If I'm the artist and I'm, emotionally compromised and upset, then, I guess her response makes sense in some way, but that's not how I would have handled it. But I'm not her.
No, absolutely. There's a lot going on. It's ridiculous. And you know what? I don't know all the ins and outs. I don't know if there was an actual threat to anyone. Say it didn't seem to be.
No,
you know, but you know, but yeah, it was having all that happen after so many years. I think is what is going to set that kind of precedent where it's like, what about Howard Chaykin? What about John Byrne? What about a lot of these other guys that people have this or that issue with? What about Dan Panozin? I mean, he did that. Was it a Female Furious cover that everyone was upset about a couple of years ago?
Yeah, that was another. That was another case of the left overstepping. And I, as a liberal, I guess a classic liberal at this point, I was like, come on, guys, let's try to run a clean ship here. Don't police our own. Let's try to be careful with the points that we're making and not just attack each other. And now I'm considered like a, left centrist or whatever. Everybody ran to the left past me and they're all just eating each other up. But yeah, I mean, if you know Dan at all, he's a close friend. He's a good guy. You really had to reach to be offended by that cover to consider it a form of assault. And again, this is just, 5% of 5% of 5% that were mad at this. It must have been like, 10 people who were just looking for attention or whatever. But it's like, really, guys, like there's so many problems in comics. When we raise our voices, we should pick things that are important and not just get mad every day just because we don't want the party to end. Yeah.
And I actually did talk to someone who goes to Thought Bubble yesterday. And he was telling me basically it's normally not a huge show, but years where they have big guests, it is. So like Gerard Way was there maybe like 3 years ago and it was packed. So so that'll give you an idea of the kind of drop that removing someone like Frank is going to do to attendance.
He was the headliner. He was by far. It was Frank Miller and then B-level artist. Like if I had gone, it would have been like me in a distant second from Bill and then a lot of local people from Leeds. Have you been to Thought Bubble, Joe?
I've never been to Thought Bubble. But no, it was I want to go maybe next year or the year after. I keep hearing it's a nice show, but also the kind of people I keep hearing that from makes me go like, I don't know, maybe. But yeah.
I've been twice as a guest. That's actually where I met my friend Fiona Staples there. It was a really good show. I mean, when people so it's sort of in the middle part of England, maybe getting closer to or Scotland, and some people come south, and man, trying to understand that Scottish accent. Oh, holy shit. I did my best though. But yeah, it was very much an artsy fartsy show. And I mean that in a good way. It wasn't very commercial. I think the spirit of it is in line with sort of how we want comic book shows to be without PlayStation buying up a bunch of booths and changing the nature of it,
That would be nice. Someone brought up the whole page rates thing.
I missed that tweet.
It was Mark Miller, I think, was asking about page rates, and then people were jumping in everywhere from like, $1,000, $1,500 to like, I finally made $150 a page and stuff like that. So
I know my end is on the high end, of course. I get a writer's rate too. They threw a lot of numbers out. My number of what I get paid is probably higher than those numbers, but I know I'm a 1%er basically. But I know I still get royalties, so for me, I could ask for more and it won't matter because at the end of the day, I'm still getting the same amount once royalties come in. It's not it's an advance basically, and if the book doesn't sell, you get to keep the advance. But because my books sell, like I could ask for $100 or $1,000 at the end of 2 years, it's going to be the same number anyway, because royalties are royalties. But yeah, I mean, it is interesting watching the big two crack down on rates. I mean, adjusted for inflation. I mean, if an artist was making, $500 in 1995, and still making that same amount now, that's basically $300 or whatever. This is why we need Perch. He's better at math than we are.
That's fair. But yeah, I think that's important. I'm not sure how many people know that a lot of the page rates are against in advance.
Yeah.
and that's important to keep in mind, because
Yeah.
a lot of the smaller publishers, they'll have lower rates, but again, it's similar. It's against royalties, but you're selling less. So, it's.
Hey, Eric Kennedy. Sorry, Joe.
Yeah, no problem. Hey, Eric. That's it's great.
So,
I was watching Aeon Flux earlier this week. So.
Oh, and you thought of Eric?
Well, I was because I had a friend over who grew up without like cable, and I was like, we're gonna watch like Liquid Television and the Max cartoon, and Aeon Flux and all that stuff. It was fun. But yeah.
When I met Eric, I because he looks young. He's I didn't know how old he was. He's Asian too, so he ages very well. So that's not racist, everybody. You got that? And he told me he worked on Aeon Flux, and I'm like, wait a minute, in like 1994 with Liquid Television, that Aeon Flux? And I don't think he worked on the original. Eric, please chime in on the right here. I think he worked on the second edition with the director. I forget his name. Yeah, Eric. Eric's joking, saying he's 85. But my understanding of Eric's involvement with Aeon, I'm not sure what the timeline is, but if he worked on the original, then he must have been like 15 years old. That's amazing. All right, so he worked on the extended episodes. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, but no,
Eric, you're aging well, man.
Yeah, but yeah, the page rate issue is. I mean, we've touched on it, I think, before in other streams and whatnot, but yeah, page rates are all over the place, depending on where you go and who you are and what you're doing.
Yeah, a friend of mine was one of the top artists at Marvel, and I heard what his page rate was, and it was pathetic. And I was like, dude, if you are getting paid that little, then you're making it okay for Marvel to fuck over everybody who's not as good as you. Like, you are at the top. Like, if this is like, you're hurting the whole culture here. You're hurting the whole scale. Like, you need to be making 5 times that. Yeah. Like the next guy in line is making way more than you are. Like, doesn't that make you mad? And he's a very nice, passive, not angry, not confrontational guy, like a lot of artists are. So I was getting worked up, and he was calm as hell. And I don't know, like, God bless. If he's fine making his shitty page rate, then that's great. But I feel like that's a problem. If I was his agent, I'm like, let me negotiate your next contract. You just get the fuck out of the room and realize I'm doing the best for your career.
Well, now I got someone in the chat here asking if you'd ever work in animation over comics.
Yeah, if they hired me to manage a project and write a script and sort of oversee things, then I'd love to do that, depending on how much oversight the suits would have. Like, if they're going to change everything and ruin it, then probably not. Do I want to be a cog and just do, cell animation or I forget what it's called, keyframing? Then no, I don't want to feel like a cog in the system. I'd like so when they brought Mike Mignola into when they're making that movie Atlantis, they invited him in, and this is from Mike himself when he told me. And what was that, late 90s, early 2000s? So he goes into Disney and he goes into a room and he sees his style printed out, blown up on massive posters, and he sees all these notes made about Mike's art, like they were dissecting it like scientists. And he looked at one note and it said square fingertips. And the note was, we need to do square fingertips in Atlantis with triangular fingernails, because that's what Mike Mignola does. And he had no idea that he did square fingertips. And he started, he sat and thought about, like, holy shit, I guess I do. Like, they knew stuff about his style that he didn't even know. That sounds pretty cool. Like, if that was the animation gig, then yeah, all day long. But Mike's style is a lot more easy to animate than mine would be.
Yeah. But White Knight meets Archie. Let's make that happen. So,
yeah, why not?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, I have a question here. Let's get a little controversial, Joe. You ready?
Probably not, but sure.
Do you get shit for being on Perch's show? To give some context here, now some people see Perch as like tangential to Comicsgate, which I don't think he is. No. The left hates him for this reason, the right hates him for this reason, whatever it is. We're all very reasonable people here, of course, so I know no one is going to get outraged, and I mean that sincerely. I see him as a guy who's just after the facts. It just likes to play. I mean, I think he is just a middle type of guy, which I think serves him very well. being unemotional about a lot of these topics. But a lot of your friends and my friends were likely to be triggered by the fact that we would even come near this show, which I think is insane. But you and I are quote unquote brave enough to come here.
It's very weird, but I mean, I've really haven't gotten much. I did have a text exchange with a writer who I won't go into who this person is, but
I think I know who it is, but go ahead.
But was just like, that Perch is Comicsgate, right? And then showed me an old tweet. And the tweet was about Perch pointing out that doing the mass blocking blocks a lot of retailers.
Yes.
And it was just a situation. It's like, I feel like he's just pointing out that maybe creators shouldn't block dozens, if not hundreds, of retailers.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a pretty milquetoast, vanilla kind of comment.
Yeah.
But it was to the credit of the person I'm talking about. They didn't. That was like it. It wasn't like well, you can't be on that. Right. It was just like, all right, cool. Like if you think this person's cool, I trust you. So that it's really not bad. Like it's been weird. I feel like it would be hard for people to kind of peg me on that, in the sense that I've done a Planned Parenthood anthology. I edited Kim and Kim. It's like, I don't know what people would think. Like otherwise, it's weird, but people can get a little weird and shaky about some of that stuff. Some of it I get, some of it I don't. Some of it feels like carryover of feelings from a few years ago that don't really apply anymore. I mean, I'm somehow I am blocked by a few pros. I have been for a long time by some of them, and I have no idea how. Like I think myself and nearly everyone on Twitter is blocked by Al Ewing, and and there's a couple of other people that I know have me blocked. One of which I also edit the Geeks Out blog, which is the big LGBT geek group. They do FlameCon. I put that on every year in New York. So I edit that, and there was one creator we did an interview for that I had to set everything up, and got to find out I was blocked by them. So that kind of stuff is just very odd. But no, it's like I've worked with and promoted a lot of people. I've given money on multiple anthologies and other things. I also produce webcomics, and have hired a lot of people of different backgrounds, and given them like actual money to work in comics, and have promoted them. I'm a big promoter of people like Rachel Pollack, a trans woman who was writing comics in the 90s that everyone decided they were going to forget about. Even now, which blows my mind, they did a DC Pride anthology, and instead of asking Rachel, who's super easy to get a hold of, she has a website, and her email's in the website, and she responds to it. It's like anyone could have reached out and said, hey, you created Coagula, this trans superhero in the 90s that was part of Doom Patrol. You want to write a 4 or 6 page comic in this anthology? No, they just act like that never it's just the strangest thing how people act about this sort of stuff. There's no talk of Maddie Blaustein, even though they rebooted Milestone, and she had done Death Wish for them, which was one of, if not the first, like DC published work from like J.H. Williams III. Like, why wouldn't you put that out? It would sell. He's got a following. People would buy that even if they didn't know the story because it's his art.
Right.
Like, yeah, it's just very weird.
I feel like they only care about the last 6 months, and whatever you've done before that. Like, people who accuse me of being a secret conservative or whatever, and I have nothing against conservatives for the most part. I have conservatives friends, blah blah blah. But if you read Punk Rock Jesus, it's all fucking there. Like, I was a raging liberal before it was cool, and then I got older and I got tamer, and now I'm trying to be more reasonable and be the guy that reaches across the aisle. But like, all my gay friends that I take selfies with at shows, like, do you think they would be friends with me if I was secretly? I mean, give me a fucking break, guys. And I get so mad at my friends who, there's a bunch of people that talk to Perch who promise him that they're going to be on the show as a guest, and then they never do it. It's like they want his connections and they milk him for information, but they're skittish about actually pulling the trigger and getting on. And I just think they're cowards.
Yeah, no, and I'm sorry you murdered that guy. The only asses you're going to see today, right here. So sorry about that, buddy. But yeah, it's so bizarre. And I'll also mention this too. I had a call at some point. I was talking with an artist at some point. Again, I'm not going to mention names or anything like that. But I had mentioned your name, and the instinctive, like, and I had to like call I was just like, what are you doing? And explained like, well, why? And it was just this. It was again that general like, it's like, oh, I thought he was like one of the guys we're like not supposed to like. I'm not kidding. This is like middle grade mentality of like that kind of stuff. And there's been at least a couple of other people I've talked to who are like, wow, Sean's like a better person than I thought. And I'm like, why did you think he was? Like it's just the weirdest things that
these knitting circles online. It's just insane. And I've stopped. I just embrace it. I'm like, fine, if you want to be dumb and believe what you hear about me, then you're waving the let's not be friends flag, and you're saving me the time. Awesome. I don't have to sit with you in a bar. I could just find somebody more genuine, basically. But yeah, I've had that conversation many times over the years with people that are like, you seem a lot calmer than I was expecting, or you've got quite a reputation out there, and I'm surprised you're so even keeled. And I'm just like, I don't know what people perceive. And I mean, give me 5 minutes to talk to anybody, and I can talk them off the ledge, no problem. But I just don't even want to. I'm more useful as a straw man. I'm more entertaining as a Frankenstein of things that people don't like. The fact that I made a good living in comics is strike one, and strike two. I don't kiss the ring enough, I guess. And I don't use networks to get ahead. Like, I don't have to play politics. I write my stuff. I draw my stuff. I hire my own people. I don't need to pretend to be nice to people to get work done. And I know that's very rare, because a lot of people are afraid of abandoning the network. And I just, I don't know. I just do better as a loner. Like, I like genuine people like you and like Perch, and it is what it is. I can't talk them off the ledge. I'm more convenient for them as an enemy, I guess.
Yeah, this is another thing too I wanted to mention that I was thinking of. There's also there's this obsession of going back and claiming that things weren't good. Like it, there's a bit of that with Frank Miller, but I mean, I know multiple people who now will do things like let's say, like after Jim Steranko gotten heat because I can't believe in this guy who's always been like this was like that on Twitter. And then you'll get people coming out of the woodwork to be like, yeah, I reread some of his comics and I don't think they were very good. And it's just like, it's like, but that's not like to me, that kind of thing is like, okay, but what you're doing, like, it's not noble or it's not putting any effort in if you don't like the thing in the first place. There's no sacrifice. There's none of that to it. So it's like, so who cares? I mean, I've heard that. I've heard people go, I went back and I reread some of John Byrne's Fantastic Four, and you know what? I don't think it's aged well, and I don't think he's that good. And it's like, what are you trying to prove here? Like, it's a really weird thing. And I mean, the other side, other people do that too. Like, I went back and reread Kingdom Come, and it sucked. And it's like, guys. Like, I'm sorry that, Jim Steranko and John Byrne are good artists, and I'm sorry that Mark Waid's a good writer. Like, I'm sorry. Like, we're going to have to somehow live in this world where these things happen. It's very strange how people do that. Like, one of the things to me that always comes up, although first we gotta say bye to Perch. Thanks for.
Can we block him somehow? Can we get him out of here?
Yeah, no, we're gonna boot him from the channel.
Boo, Perch.
He'll be gone. But yeah, I mean, something.
I think he's gonna text me soon.
Yeah, no, that'll be good, and that's fine. You're allowed to. That's fine. It's cool. No worries. But yeah.
I'll see you later, Perch. Sorry, Joe. I keep interrupting you. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. But you get that kind of stuff, and then like for me, for example, I don't eat a Chick-fil-A and all of that, but I don't go out of my way and tell everybody, yo, you can't do this, you can't do that. It's just something that I don't do, and that's okay. But then you'll get people who will say like, oh, their chicken sucks anyway, and it's like, well, then you're not doing anything noble. You don't like, you wouldn't eat it anyway. Like, there's nothing like, I don't. Yeah, it's very weird how people treat that kind of stuff.
So I can. This is actually a good opportunity to talk about the controversy I had with Bigfoot Bill.
Sounds like I'm going to need some more For Loco for this one.
Yeah, there you go.
There we go.
Yeah, so I've never talked about this, and I sort of let the dust settle last year, and maybe this is finally the point to talk about it and like explain myself. I've known Doug TenNapel for a while. I've gotten along with him great. I like Doug. I know he's Christian. He knows I'm not. Sure. And I didn't do a giant background. I mean, a guy wrote me. He's like, "Oh, do you want to come on the show? Do you want to chat?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure. As long as we stay away from religion and politics, we're good." And he was good with that too. And he explained himself on the phone to me. Not that he had to, but he was like, I've got gay friends and this and that. And he said to me like all this stuff, and I believe him, and I still do. So when he asked me to do what is it? He gave me a pinup just for no reason at all, which I was really enchanted by. I was a big fan of Earthworm Jim, and I'm like, this is so great. Like, this is the cool part about quote unquote making it. I mean, he even worked on Jurassic Park game for Sega, which blows my mind. So I have
I
questions
played that game.
Oh man, great level design.
Oh yeah.
So I said, hey man, let me do you a cover. Like, I promise, as soon as I'm not exclusive, I'll do a cover or like whatever you need. And that was the end of it.
Sure. And
then people started warning me, and he's like, oh, don't he's a conservative and he likes Trump and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, so's my plumber. So's my electrician. Like, you want me not to get along with these people? And so, I'm not going to break a promise. I'm a man of my word. So I did the Bigfoot Bill cover, and I spoke to Doug a lot about it, and we knew like the stuff was kind of headed our way. And, I tried to be the one that reaches across the aisle, and, I feel like I do a pretty okay job at that. And there was some miscommunication, and I can't remember how these events exploded, but it happened all in a day. So I might get some of this stuff out of order, but someone got mad at something he said, which can be perceived as anti-gay. I looked at the tweet and you know what? That's not something I would say to my gay friends, but Doug has gay friends. So maybe, that's just the kind of humor that he likes to make with his gay friends. I don't care. I started getting like dogpiled by my friends, and I read another tweet, and I'm just like, this one. The thing is, like, I'm putting together a book at DC. I have a ton of gay friends in the office at DC, and nobody pressured me to pull the cover. I just felt as the boss who has 10 employees at DC who I need to put books out. if they're going to be upset about a tweet, whether it's a misunderstanding or not, but like, I don't need those people being unhappy while they're trying to put my book out. I had zero pressure from anybody, but for me, I'm like, well, Doug has a brand. It's not my brand. And I said, well, so I called Doug and I told him my problem. He's like, well, if you need to, I didn't mean to get you into any trouble. I'm so sorry. If you need to pull the cover, you can. I'm like, okay, let me think about it, because I don't want to have to do that, because I don't want to screw you over. But, your tweet was sort of not aligned with how I feel, and it's sort of creating a thing, and I don't want DC to get mad at me. Sure. And he goes, oh, I understand. So we talked about it as gentlemen, and we're still good to this day, I think. And somehow people started, what happened after that? Oh, so he told me I should pull out, so I did. And I felt so bad that I did. And then somehow Jim Lee's involved, and Doug is tweeting at Jim Lee, mad that Jim pressured me to pull the cover, which is not true at all. Yeah. Poor Jim is on vacation, like skiing with his family in Northern California, and he calls me or texts me, I forget what happened, and he's like, what's going on here? I'm like, nothing, man. I don't know why he thinks that I called Doug. I'm like, hey man, Jim did not, I don't know what I said to make you think that Jim told me to pull the cover, but that's not true at all. Like every tweet I sent out, I cleared by Doug. Like I showed Doug, I'm about to tweet this. Is that okay? So we tried to, and just to get through it the best we could. And it was a bad look for both of us. Like I wish we had all just communicated better, but like I wasn't bending the knee. I wasn't pressured to do it. Again, I just feel like my brand was not aligned with Doug's brand in that moment. In hindsight, I wish I had just said, keep the cover, but I'm going to make a statement that says like, this will probably be the last one that I do. Doug's views on gays don't align with mine, and we're still friends. But you can't even say that without people continuing to drag you. So, like in hindsight, I wish I didn't pull the cover. I wish I just ignored it, which is what Mike Mignola did. And if I wasn't on Twitter at all, I don't think it would have been any drama whatsoever. But because I was on Twitter, I was accessible, and people started jumping on me from both sides. And it really was just like a sort of misunderstanding. It's not as salacious as everybody thinks. So, and there was a ton of videos about how I'm a pussy and I'm a coward and blah, 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 blah. And I didn't respond at all until this very moment. Yeah, I like Doug. We still don't agree on a lot of things, but it is what it is.
Sure. No, I mean, yeah, he's, I don't get into anything with Doug, but I grew up as a fan of Earthworm Jim and all that stuff too. I watched the cartoon. I had the action figures. I rented it a bunch. For whatever reason, we never owned the first game. I rented it a bunch, but we owned the second one. I don't know why.
That one's hard to find too.
Yeah. No, I have it all on I have the that like Genesis Mini. So I play those on that, and I may have hacked it to add some of the other games to it.
Oh man, you're one of those. Do you even pay for your comics, Joe?
Oh my God, a lot of there are times I wish I didn't, but it's but no, it's now here's a question for you. If you're up for it, I can clear it first. Yep. But
I like to share that, Mike. I don't want to do all the talking. It's you and me equally, and then when Geoff gets here. All right.
Yeah. So I was wondering, like, I feel like a lot of people, like, I know I've heard from a lot of people, and you've probably heard from a bunch of people too. Like, there's a certain mentality, I feel like, with a lot of pros in the industry that, like, once you get to a certain level, like, you're not supposed to like go to cons to have fun. You're not supposed to have idols. You're not supposed to read comics. You're not supposed to get comics signed. You're supposed to just do the job. And like, have you heard like those kinds of? Because I've definitely heard some of those things. Like I've gone to cons after like working on some stuff, and people are like, "Oh, you brought like books to get signed," like that kind of weird stuff.
Yeah, when I was starting out and I discovered cosplay, I thought, man, wouldn't it be cool if one day I got really big in comics and I showed up at a show dressed as a stormtrooper and I just signed autographs as a Star Wars character? Like, how come nobody does that? Like, everyone's taking themselves so seriously. Sorry to say, I don't have a stormtrooper outfit, so I might try it.
Not yet.
I think it's great when big comic pros come over and they're like, "Hey man, can you sign my thing?" And I'm like, "Yeah, Frank Miller, I'll sign your thing." but maybe not because you don't like Muslims.
There you go. Well, you could put that in when you sign it.
Yeah.
Like, fuck you, bigot.
Yeah.
There you go.
The guy that created Men in Black came up to me to show and was just talking about how he liked my stuff. And I'm like, holy shit. Like my favorite top 10 movie for me is Men in Black. And I just think it's really cool how they like it for all the right reasons, And like, I hope to be that kind of pro where, the supposed I'm better than this now just bounces off your chest and you sort of are still like a human,
Yeah, because I think you also notice this too. Sometimes you see different parts of like different imprints or different things going on, and like the same thing will be happening in like two different books. There was the big blow up with the Jim Starlin at Marvel with Donny Cates when they were like telling the same like Thanos story at the same time. Mm-hmm. And those are the kind of things where it's like, well, if everyone's like reading the comics and doing this, then maybe those kind of things wouldn't happen as much if people were kind of more aware. But you hear about that kind of stuff. I notice it, like, and some of it is I'm sure editorial or publisher mandates or things like that. But some of the other stuff is just like, did you not like read that this happened already? Because we keep doing this.
Yeah. There's a comment here I got to read out loud. Men in Black is about killing illegal aliens. I guess I'm canceled. And Tommy Lee Jones. And Will Smith.
Yeah.
I know that comment is joking. I think it's great.
Which is crazy because this is supposed to be the millennium.
Yeah.
But here we are.
Yeah. Winnie the Pooh, Darwin Cook. That's cool if that's true.
Yeah, but
if you had to dress up for a show, Joe, if you had to go cosplay and you could get a costume that was really nice, what would you choose to go as?
I would probably go. You know what? I might go as Tom Baker as Doctor Who from the final season he did with when John Nathan Turner took over the show. I really like that era. I'm a big classic Doctor Who fan.
Right.
I'm more of a Peter Davison fan, but overall, Sylvester McCoy has a good outfit. I could probably rock that. He's got the nice. I like his sweater vest. But and
good luck.
Yeah, but it's good stuff. I'm a big fan of even like Patrick Troughton. I love Patrick Troughton and Jamie Zoe, all that stuff. And I have no idea what you think of Doctor Who. So you're probably just like, oh yeah, that's
no. I used to love it as a kid. Like I don't know what season it would be, and it was filmed in England, and the quality of the cameras was so bad it looked like it was filmed in the 60s. Oh yeah. I don't remember which doctor it was. I think it was the guy that wore that scarf.
Yeah, that would be Tom Baker. It was probably like the Philip Hinecliffe years, probably some of the with Sarah Jane Smith and Leela and all that stuff.
Like I remember being really intrigued by it and feeling it was very creepy and odd.
Yeah.
And like the low caliber of production really helped it feel weird in a way, In a way, I'd love it if they did a low budget Doctor Who just to see like cardboard and Christmas lights. Let's see what we can do, everybody.
I love it. Yeah, and all those like our earlier Tom Baker stuffs where every episode would end with that like same musical bit of like the da 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 all that stuff. But yeah, I mean there were so many things. I mean, one of the stories that's aged poorly because they unfortunately had an actor do Yellowface in it was The Talons of Wang Chiang. And it's a shame because that's one of my absolute all-time favorite stories. And here's Geoff.
What? Hey. What's up?
Hey, it's Geoff.
What's happening, fellas?
Hey, man.
Just talking about classic Doctor Who.
Oh, dear God. Hello, Mr. Sean Murphy. We never actually met.
Good to interact with you.
Yes, finally. Interact. It's not a meeting yet. It's not face to face. This is not my face. I am not this cute.
Oh.
But
your eyes don't glow like that. Do you have really sweet dreads at least?
No, those days are long gone, my friend. All we have is the beautiful Joe Carollo to look at today.
There we go. And Peach for a logo.
How come, Geoff? How come you don't use a camera? I know my excuse. What's yours?
I do sometimes, but I got it sort of established here as not doing it. Like literally everywhere else, you can see my face, but here, for some reason, I refuse to show my face.
Yeah, man, you want to get canceled for being on Perch's show.
Oh, what? Man, can't nobody cancel me. What do you mean?
That's right.
Please try.
Teflon,
I invite you to try to cancel me. I am Teflon. Whatever.
Nice. Oh my god! But yeah, Geoff, do you have a favorite classic Doctor?
I'm a big Tom Baker fan.
Nice.
I used to love the Tom Baker fan. I'm a current day Matt Smith fan. Those are my two docs.
Nice. No, I really like that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah. If you had to go to a show, Geoff, dressed in cosplay to sign, and you're not allowed to mention the people that you're dressed like a stormtrooper or whatever, what would you dress up as? And you're going to get a good costume too.
Oh, you mean like a top shelf? Am I masked? Can they tell it's me, or do I wear a mask?
We have to know it's you. That's part of the charm.
Oh, okay. What would
but you could be Boba Fett, but you could just not wear the mask though.
I have to carry the helmet. Okay, and it could be from any.
Whatever you want. Yeah.
Wow. Jumping Jesus. I don't know. I don't know. Give me a second to talk about something else while I think about it. Holy shit.
I think I would be Mad Mardigan from Willow.
Ooh.
I love that movie. I like it better than Lord of the Rings. I find it very quotable. I know it's not perfect. I rewatched it recently. But that's not too much cut anymore. But yeah, I'm a fan of that.
Jesus Christ. I don't know. I'm kind of a fan of the Tony Stark armor. Like I could probably pull that off. I don't know, but like there's so many cool. You know who I love? I love the fucking Assassin's Creed guys.
Nice. I've been playing the shit out of that lately. It's so funny you said that, Geoff.
I would wear that. I would fucking wear that. I would wear that to church. Are you kidding? I would just wear that.
Just a hood and a threatening stride.
That's right. I got to lose a little weight, though, for the threatening stride. It'd be more like a threatening waddle right now.
I love that you wear a white hood, Geoff, to a convention. That's very...
Fucking A, baby. Yeah, hell yeah. I don't care. Like I said, please try. Please try. Please try. Yeah, man. Also, in terms of... Oh, wait. I got here a little bit late. Gender bent Teen Lantern. You know what? You think you're joking. But that's the kind of crap I might pull. That's exactly the kind of crap I might pull.
I'm not trying to just rattle my saber here, but I have a thing that I did a while back that they want to option. Some of the ideas that they're throwing around is race bending or gender bending one of the main characters. And I'm already like getting ready for like, oh great, here I'm gonna get they're gonna get pre-cancel or like you appreciate the vision.
You know what?
I feel like the way to handle it is to don't do what Neil Gaiman did and just go, hey, I had my book, they're going in a different direction. I think it's really exciting. So, we're gonna have whatever the change is.
I thought you were gonna say don't marry Amanda Palmer.
Yeah.
Whoa, Jesus! Well, Perch is not here. We can do what the fuck we want.
Yeah.
The Bob Saget of comics is what we're calling him.
Oh my god! That's brutal! Oh my god!
We should make T-shirts.
Oh shit! Yeah, man. My feeling on the whole gender race bending thing is, if the character was created in such a way. Let's say you can't have a Jewish Captain Nazi. Like, I don't want to see that. Nobody wants to see that. It's built into the character that you can't do that. Yeah. You can have any ethnicity Spider-Man because the definition of Peter Parker is poor kids, poor geeky boy, lower middle class geeky boy from Queens in the 20th century. That can be anybody who could be named Peter Parker because those are the only qualities that define him. But on the other side of that, you can't have the only way you can have a black Captain America if it's not Steve Rogers. And you can't have a black Captain America that shows his full face, right? Because if it's 1943, nobody's following Black Captain America over a fucking hill. I'm sorry. Like, you can tell that story if you want to, but I'm not going to buy into it.
Right.
You know? So I always feel like when they made Heimdall black, I was like, what are you guys doing? Like, why are you? Thank you, Kilgore. Thank you very much. I believe Joe was already cool. I'm just trying not to drop the ball. Yeah, like when they made him, I was like, these are the Norse gods. Shouldn't they all be white and Nordic looking? Like, I'm not offended by them if they all show up in their white and Nordic looking, if they're the Norse gods.
Yeah.
The thing that I think the MCU did was they made a point of saying these are just aliens that the locals in this bullshit planet thought were their gods. And I'm like, well, there's no way they mistook this 7-foot-tall black guy for Heimdall, because Heimdall in the mythology is like literally pasty white. So like he's physically described. So, but whatever, don't care. Not my onions. You know, if it's your property, you do what the fuck you want with it. Yeah. Like if you made it up and someone wants to bend and you don't want them to, tell them not to. If you don't care, that's legit too.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, man. No, I agree.
You know, whatever.
What else are we going to talk about, Joe? Did we have? I thought we had kind of a mental list going.
We did. We were. What was it? We bounced a few things off each other. What was it? Well,
Geoff, is there anything you want to talk about that you never gotten a chance to because Bob Saget Perch wouldn't let you?
You know what? I sound so goofy all the time. The reason I like Perch is he's that guy. Like he's that guy. He's a fact-based, reasonable person. So I tend to gravitate to that kind of guy. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of hot topics going on. I watch people trying to cancel each other, and you know, like from the right or the left trying to cancel each other. And I'm just like, guys, can we just make some fucking comics?
Do we have
fantastic.
Jesus Christ.
Do we have any He-Man hot takes here?
Right. Yes, we talked about He-Man. I watched the whole Masters of the Universe thing, all 5 episodes.
There's something wrong with you. Why would you?
But yeah, I know, Sean. I believe you somehow got through 2 whole episodes.
I watched 2 episodes, and I just thought, I mean, the whole idea with He-Man from the beginning was pretty bad. Even the people that created it and the toys that made us, the creator literally said, "We're gonna shove this crap into their little pea brains." Like he literally said that in a funny way, like a guy that we would all hang out with, just a normal dude. He's like, "Let's shove it down their little pea brains." So it was a kitchen sink of robot horses and magic and flying whatever. It's like it was never like good luck. If they asked me to write a script, I'm like, I don't know what the hell to do with this, guys. Like there's no redeeming this in a way. That's right. It was crap to begin with. The show was crap at the time. Yeah. It was just a giant toy commercial for crappy toys. So like the only version of He-Man that's been remotely good was that weird science fiction revamp one that they did. That was in the 90s.
Oh, that's the one. He-Man. I grew up with that one, the New Adventures of He-Man.
That was solid.
Yeah. I remember the toys. I had those toys because those were the ones coming out. And it was like the Skeletor with like the box or whatever over his head. You'd open it up like Zombie.
I mean, if it was my show, I would have called it, Teela. I would have marketed it as someone killed He-Man and Teela is out for revenge.
Something like that.
Like also, that sounds better already and ballsy, and then you don't have to pretend like, no, folks, no, He-Man's definitely in it. Don't worry, everybody, he's definitely in it.
I would have called it Masters of the Universe and left all the He-Man nonsense out of it. Like, I wouldn't even have mentioned freaking He-Man. I would have just called it Masters of the freaking Universe.
Yeah.
And I don't know why creators live in fear of the mob so much. Like what you just said. If it's about Teela, claim it. Yeah. Just say so. Like, if you're going to make it mostly about Teela, that's fine. Yeah. People will show up.
Yeah.
Wasn't that movie like the first movie that Courtney Cox ever did?
Yes, that's correct.
I think she went from that Bruce Springsteen music video to
That's right. That's right. Yeah. And it also had the fabulous Frank Langella in it, which made it awesome. That's why love Frank Langella. Awesome.
He's actually a distant cousin of mine. He is.
Of course he is.
He is my grandpa's cousin.
Yeah.
Come on, Joe. Yeah. You know every fucking body. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I think the best He-Man movie ever was the documentary about how the Dolph Lundgren He-Man went wrong. I think that's the most entertaining He-Man, or even just the plan behind the toys in the first place.
I did not know there was one. Now I have to go find it and watch it. That sounds awesome.
I think maybe it might just be that Canon Films documentary. I think maybe that's just the part I'm thinking of.
That too. Those guys were insane.
Yeah.
I would love to watch that documentary.
Yeah, Electric Boogaloo. If anyone hasn't seen it, it's about Canon
that's
Films.
the title.
Yeah.
All right. I'm
in the 80s, they would sell a movie based on a poster, and mayhem would ensue, of course.
God bless America.
Yeah.
You know, we could do with a little more of that kind of moxie, though.
Yeah.
I would love to see that. Like, anyway.
Yeah.
What else will we talk about? Well, Perch is always extremely structured. Like, it's always like everything's all sectioned out. And
at this point, he's like, well, let's take a look. I can't do a Perch voice, so let's take a look at how many boobs and asses and tits are coming out.
Oh, dear God in heaven.
He uses the phrase, like, to each his own. He uses stuff like that a lot.
Yeah. It's going to be like, too many comics are coming out. What are you going to read? I don't know. Like, we're going to like 3 or 4 of these comics. Oh, here's all the, Dynamite this week is a little top heavy instead of bottom heavy.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
I think people read so much into, like, creators get to a certain level of success. If they don't move over to indie world, if they hadn't been in it before, I don't know that there's some giant political thing going on. I feel like if I have enough notoriety, which I don't in comics, where my name on a book makes people line up to buy the book, then you're damn right I'm going over to Comixology or Image or something like that. Why wouldn't I? That's the whole point, right?
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with Netflix or all that stuff. It's just so I can own my own shit. Like, give me a break with that. So I'm happy about that. What's that? Was it Tynan's got a deal with Comixology?
Nick
Perch,
Nick is in the chat. I've met Nick at cons a few times. Nick is he's a great guy. Loves comics. If you want to support someone who loves comics that's putting them out, you should definitely check out what Dynamite's putting out. So.
Okay, I don't dislike Dynamite. I've done nothing against Dynamite.
No, I know. I just.
Hey, speaking of race bending, Dynamite did something that nobody ever talks about. I know, what a weird segue. Dynamite did something that nobody ever talks about, which drove me fucking nuts for my whole childhood. In Mandrake the Magician, right? He has the assistant, Lothar, the big beefy black guy that sort of carries the bags and is the muscle, right? And for years, it drove me nuts because his origin story was he was literally a king in Africa, but he gave that up to carry Mandrake's bags. And I was like, what the fuck? Nobody would do that. That's horse shit, right? And on the other side, you have the Phantom, the ghost who walks. And obviously, since the 30s or the 50s, whenever the fuck he was created, it's this white dude running around Africa telling all these locals, look, I'm the ghost who walks. We're going to do it like this. And like, motherfucker, you just fucking got here. What the fuck are you talking about? So Dynamite, I don't know which writer did this. Dynamite made Lothar the new Phantom. They didn't erase the old Phantom. They didn't erase any of that old shit. It's just they had an adventure, and at the end of the adventure, Lothar assumes the mantle of the Phantom. And I was like, that is a ballsy fucking move, guys. Holy shit. And now I can read the Phantom in pleasure. Right. Yeah. And now I don't cringe when I see Lothar carrying those bags all the goddamn time. Like he's not doing that. And I give up my props to Dynamite for that kind of stuff. And in the absence of the old heavy metal, all those butts and asses, if they want to do Vampirella and all that kind of shit, it's not going to make me buy it. But there's a market. Go for it.
Yeah, I like a lot of the James Bond stuff they do over there.
Yeah. And, why the fuck not?
And Brian Clevenger, I love that guy. I loved what was it? He did 8-Bit Theater was an early webcomic and like the
holy shit, that was him.
Yeah, that was him. I loved 8-Bit Theater, and then he did Atomic Robo, and obviously other stuff since then too. But yeah, I've been he's one of those guys. It's like I was a fan of him before I realized I was a fan of him, kind of thing.
Yeah, I love that guy, and I loved Atomic Robo for years. I didn't know that was a straight line. Like that's an unsung hero of comics. Where's that fucking TV show? Jesus Christ.
Who's the artist on that? Really
it was Scott.
Scott Wagner.
Yes,
no?
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Scott Wagner, yeah.
That book was the shit.
Yeah,
I love that book.
It was like a love story to Hellboy, and then it turned into its own thing.
Yeah.
I'd love to see that adapted.
Yeah, no, it should be.
I mean, not everything needs to be adapted, but if you're going to do something, the thing that stars a fucking robot screams to be made into a cartoon.
Yeah, you don't even have to pay anybody.
Right, let's just go, baby, go.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. I really hope I hope people check out Brian's work. If you've never read Atomic Robo, 8-Bit Theater, or any of the stuff he's done at Dynamite or anywhere else, check him out. He's a really solid writer who not enough people talk about. He's a sleeper. He's a sleeper. What they used to call him, a dark horse. He's a sleeper. Yeah.
Anyway, so. Wow. So is this going to be randomized for the whole time? Because I'm not good at improvisation.
Yeah, no, we'll figure it out. I mean, you're out in LA. I know, like, New York's riddled with improv.
Dude, I live in my house. You know what I do? I sit here and type. That's all I'm doing all the time is typing.
Yeah.
It's glamorous. It's so fucking glamorous.
I have a question for the group. Are you guys? When you meet strangers, do you tell them you work in comics, or do you try to like duck the question?
I don't like talking about writing in general with civilians because they always ask you the kind of questions that they think are brand new.
Yeah.
And then you're like, it's going to be boring. The only other people who want to talk about writing are writers, right? Like other writers want to talk about, when you start getting into how it actually works with normal people, you can watch their eyes glaze over. So I'm like, when I'm on planes, this is the only space where I'm capable of lying. When I get on an airplane and people want to talk to me, I will literally choose a profession at random that isn't my profession. And for the duration of the flight, I'm a fucking brain surgeon.
Yeah.
And that's like, I don't like to, you're damn right they're civilians. They are not in a war with the rest of us. Fuck that. I don't like talking about writing for the most part, unless it's some very specific venue where everyone showed up to talk about writing.
Yeah. Joe, do you talk about comics? Like, do you like to tell people that you work in comics, or do you try, like at a dinner party, do you try to avoid answering, or
I want to avoid it. There's not much to brag about.
Stop it. We own pop culture. Fuck them. We own pop culture, bitches.
No, it's true. I mean, this is the problem though, because when you're writing comics and you, even though I write and edit, since I don't have artistic abilities in that way, no matter how you explain it to someone, they will always follow it up with, so like, do you draw too? So I try to avoid it for that reason, because then I have to explain, like, actually I don't draw, and no one is ever like, oh, that's cool. They're always like,
right, because you know what the next question would be? Draw me something. Here's a piece of paper. Do a trick, monkey boy. Like.
But it's so weird with comics, because if like a movie director is at a party or something, no one ever goes like, so do you like act and produce too?
Yeah.
It's like that's fine. But with comics, everyone kind of is like, oh, so you either do the whole thing, or you're kind of like,
what do you do? What's the sexy thing?
Oh, that's fine. But I like to come up with elaborate scenarios in my head of what other people have to deal with. Yeah. Like, like I imagine people that work on, something like, Batman. I could always, imagine like at a dinner party, or like parents being like, oh, the new Batman movie's coming out. You got a cut of that? Like, having to explain, like, that's not how it works.
Oh, God. That sounds like torture to me.
Yeah.
I met this guy at a con who's the voice of Brock in the Pokemon cartoons for the English translations. Okay. And he's this like Staten Island guy. So he's got like a big Italian family, and he's like, every time there's like a movie or something coming out, or a game, he's always got these like, cousins or uncles or something that go up to him like, you getting a piece of that? And he has to keep explaining, like, that's not how it works. And he's like, it's every single time.
Oh my God, that drives me insane. Jesus Christ. So the answer is no. What about you, Sean?
I tell people I work in distribution.
Ooh.
And I hope that it dies on the vine. And
that shuts the conversation down.
If I lead in with I draw Batman, it's gonna take over the group for like 10 minutes while I explain it. And people are excited about it because the movies are exciting, the games, whatever. But I grew up being ashamed that I was reading comics. Like I would hide them behind a book.
Really?
My friends in high school were athletes, and I didn't really talk. I mean, I have this sort of like weird relationship with admitting that I read comics. And it's baffling to me now that I have friends who are single who get laid by writing, I work for Marvel Comics on their fucking Tinder. Like when I was a kid, you had to hide that shit. You wouldn't let them know because like that's just men punching each other in their underwear. It like blows my mind that my fucking friends are getting laid by admitting that they're nerds comic.
I'm sorry. That's fucking awesome.
I gotta tell like Nick here talking about being a publisher. Oh, it should be easy. I'm trying to do right now is get like not all I'm trying to do. I'm working on multiple projects, but I'm trying to get that Deadbeats 2 London Calling thing like ready for print. And I mean that one anthology alone is it's a ton of work. So like just the idea of working on that's just it's so much. But we lost Sean. Oh no.
He'll be right back.
Excellent. But yeah, and then also it looks like Robbie from Pop Culture Philosophers is in the house. So
What's
Station.
Up, Robbie?
Robbie, thank you so much, Robbie. Oh my God, he's a great guy, great channel. Definitely check out sub to him. He does a great job. He's a retailer. Goes over comics, picks of the week. He also does movies and other pop culture reviews and stuff like that. It's good stuff. You should check him out, and you should also check out Fantastic Comics. Is in the chat if you haven't checked out Fantastic Comics. He recently had Kari Andrews on. He's also had on. I don't know how he pulled it off, but he had Joe Corallo on a couple of times. So.
What that hack? Why would he even bother? Why would he? Exactly. Why would he have that guy on? Jesus Christ!
Is Stepan Sajic, is that the artist and writer of Harley?
It is, yes.
Oh, cool!
Holy shit!
One Harley. I'm sorry to say, beat the shit out of my book. That stuff's amazing. He's European. He's allowed to draw nudity and not get in trouble for it. And I wish that it was published under Black Label so he could do whatever he wants. Oh, that's right. It was published under
Stop
Black
it! You're so awful. You're an awful person.
But no, it's I think I first started noticing his work. I want to say at Top Cow, like years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that's where I found him, and then and then seeing him do that, that Harley Quinn thing over at Black Label. I'm surprised they don't do enough. Batman related stuff on the Black Label.
It's weird. You guys have a similar style. It's not certainly not identical, but I wouldn't mind seeing you guys do like a handoff book, like
a flip book.
Like every other issue, or you doing one half. This is crappy. This is not a pitch, but like you do the Batman side, he does the Nightwing side, and then at some point the two stories coincide. Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, they meet in the middle like Double Dragon, and they fight their way out.
Yeah, then they fight. It's the raid, but with Batman and Nightwing.
There you go. Ooh, there's a pitch.
It's not. Well, you go do it. I will never write a Batman comic.
No, but, they publish very few of them, so it's hard to actually.
Yeah, I know.
It's weird. Oh my God. So I don't know.
I wonder if that guy. Go.
I was just gonna say. I don't know if you all saw. I think it was yesterday. Jock was making that announcement. He said he was going to announce. He had a big announcement, and I immediately read that and thought, like, I guess they're going to do another Batman book for Black Label. And and then they announced it, and I'm just like, I hate that I knew that. Just reading that.
So wait, Black Label's just Batman now? Is that all it is?
It's like 80% Batman.
I thought it was anything goes label. Like
it used to be.
No. So I was around for the idea of it, and it started out in a weird way. And they're like, "We want to do European style, like heavy metal format."
Oh, shit, yeah.
And they called me up, and they're like, "What do you think of this?" And I go, I know retailers don't like when you depart from the long box format because like they don't know how to like their shelf space is designed a certain way, and like as cool as it would be to do a wide book, I feel like the safe move is just to keep it pretty standard.
Yeah.
And I said, well, when I do White Knight, like I'm not doing that, and they were bummed that they didn't have me on board with that. So then they took Black Label in a different direction, and then the Bat Penis sort of tanked it, and then they're like, no, White Knight's Black Label. So our flagship book is not the format at all. It's not supposed like I got hijacked into Black Label as like a face-saving measure. It feels like, and it's like no one's fault. Like it started out as a good idea, and then there was a change in command, and the new powers that be decided it not. So it is what it is. Like I'm not really blaming anybody.
Yeah, it's one dick reveal, and it blows up in their face.
Yeah, that's the part of the backstage that people seem to not want to get is that you get in on you dip your toe in one side of the pool, and then some fucking tentacle monster pulls you in, and you're like all of a sudden you're in the deep end banging your head on the diving board like, how the fuck did I get all the way over here? Jesus Christ. Fuck, man, like because it's always and this last year you've been doing it obviously way longer than me, but the turmoil of the last year and a half backstage at DC, of the constant firings and acquisitions and reacquisitions and who's the editor, who's not the editor. It's like, holy Christ, I can only imagine the blood-stained walls of those offices.
Oh my God, yeah. Like I don't even want to diagnose DC right now because it's understaffed and they're not. It's not even fair to judge them because everyone's overloaded on how much. Like my editor has 16 different titles.
No,
plus
it's nonsense.
3. Yeah, like it's not even like I can't even get mad when she doesn't give me notes right away because I'm like I feel sorry for her anyone. I don't know why anyone wants to work in editing, Joe. I don't know why anyone wants to edit comics for like $30K a year in Manhattan prices. You really think that Spider-Man's worth it for that kind of lifestyle? Like I would quit.
I gotta ask you though, out of those
change 16, my mind, Joe.
Out of those 16 titles, how many of them are Batman titles?
Oh, I don't know. Most of them, yeah.
It's probably like at least 10.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
And the thing that kills me is, and look here, you know what? I haven't done a bad Perch, bad pitches video with Perch in a little bit. So like, I've had this Batman pitch. It's a terrible pitch for a bad pitch video burning in my pocket. Maybe I could throw it to you guys. And
please. By the way, someone in the chat, before you start, I don't have a Batman pitch. I enjoy to read the occasional Batman story. Like White Knight was excellent, and the Harley book was excellent. But I would be quiet if it wasn't. I would not mention you if it wasn't.
Thank you.
I'm not being nice at all.
I'm the same way. Like I respect how hard you worked, Geoff, and I would like
Stop it. Yeah, exactly. It would be that
really
kind of
love
comment.
Green Lantern, don't you?
I do, but I don't have a Batman pitch, guys. I might have one day a Nightwing pitch, but Bruce is not my guy. Dick's my guy. Dick is my guy.
Yeah,
so that's fair. Nice. But so
anyway, go on.
Here's the thing. This was somewhat inspired by the recent revelation that Tim Drake is bi because they don't know what to do with the character.
Okay.
So what if you do a story that's about all the side sort of characters? It's Tim, Jason, Dick, Stephanie Brown, Barbara, and Damian isn't, and you'll know why soon. They all start a Discord server because they all realize there are way too many Bat family characters, and what they can do is coordinate with each other behind Batman's back on who gets off what night so they can go out and get laid.
That's awesome. What do you mean? That's not a bad pitch. That's hysterical.
Right? Yeah. But so Damian is out of the loop because he's too young. So they're all doing this. And then eventually Damian is catching on to this and gets a hold of like Tim's phone and realizes that Tim's bi and there's this Discord server he's not allowed in. So he screenshots it and texts it to Bruce and outs them. And it's like a whole thing. It's a whole falling out that's called discord in the family.
Oh man, I'm gonna find you. I'm gonna find you, Joe, and I'm gonna kill you. Okay, and it's gonna be slow. I'm gonna rip out your tonsils and make you eat them. It's gonna be disgusting. It's gonna be fucking disgusting. Okay. God damn it. I mean, we've got a Batman scribe here. I have no comment on that because it's
I don't know how you're the episodes where you come up with bad pitches. Do you write those down first, or is that improv? It's pretty amazing.
I put a few notes down and then I just ran. The one that I did about like Wolverine owning a pizza shop was like off the top of my head, but most of them are, I'll write like a sentence or something like that. But yeah, they're pretty off the cuff. I like it because it's unfortunately very easy to come up with a lot of these.
Yeah. But you should do a bunch and then ask which one's actually a real pitch that you once heard.
That's funny. Yeah.
Oh yeah. No. And oh my God, I've heard this is the problem with when you start getting, there's a weird sense of humor that I feel like once you get to like millennials edging on to Gen Z, there's a certain absurdist humor that comes into play that like people then end up taking too far. So you'll end up getting stuff where it's like, wouldn't it be funny if there was just like a whole comic where like nothing happens and like that kind of stuff. And then people just keep taking it further and further. And it's like, no, that's actually not, stop.
Yeah, stop. There's no way to improve that idea.
The joke, we hit the joke, but now you're like, oh no, it's like serious. Like what if,
what if they have like what if they have a fashion show?
My God.
But it ends up being like,
you're so mean. That's so mean. Oh my God.
But with that stuff, it just ends up being stuff where it's like, well, we don't know what to do with Tim. So like, what if he opened up a deli and then this and that? And it's like, oh my God, no, stop, guys. No.
All right. Here's a pitch for all those freaking extra bat assistants. You flash forward to the future. It's an alternate Earth. Okay. Someone starts killing all of these rich kids. Nobody knows why. No one knows what their connection is. They leave some sort of marker behind for the police to go, this might be a serial, right? The first one they kill is Stephanie Brown because fuck Stephanie Brown. But
wow, shots fired. Continue.
Yeah, shots fired at Stephanie. The hell was Stephanie? But no, I'm a Cassandra Cain man. Sorry about that. But she goes out first, which is innocuous, right? And then another one gets killed, and you start to realize, holy shit, all of these kids have ties to Bruce Wayne in some way. That rich billionaire dude? What the fuck? What would connect this random school teacher in Kansas to billionaire playboy Bruce Wayne? So it's all from the detective's point of view. And the detective uncovers that all of these people were Robin at some point, and that it's all coming from the Batman universe. Right. Like, what the fuck? That's real? That's not just an urban legend in Gotham City? All that shit is real? And these kids are all Robin, and now someone's murdering them as adults? Holy shit! Now, that's just the springboard. I have no idea what that book would be, but I fucking show up for issue 1. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if Black Label's designed for that anymore. But I love it. Like all the cool, it's sad that the best ideas out there sometimes are the what if type stories,
Right.
The alternate universe. So you get to really take the gloves off,
Like what if Spider-Man was good?
Wow. You guys are vicious today.
Wow.
Oh my God. By the way, look, I'll tell you what, Sean, that Hellfire Gala was the price of admission just for the Emma Frost diamond dress. I would show up just for the Emma Frost diamond dress.
I don't know. I have not read that book. I'm just sort of repeating the joke that Perch makes a lot. So I apologize.
He's like a dog with a bone on that shit.
Yes. And thank you, Nick. Yes, please hit the like button to help the algorithm for someone who couldn't bother to be here today.
Perch is going to see this someday. He has people. I don't want them to visit me.
Yeah.
Oh,
Perch,
I know.
Perch is richer than all of us. He can afford assassins.
Yeah, he can send
This
people
is
out.
true.
I'm not messing with Perch. I just watched both sides of the Long Halloween adaptation.
Oh.
Okay. How was it?
I dug it. Like it's one of those things where I like the Batman, and you can see why I would like Sean's work. I like when Batman is more in the film noir space.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that book was a great book for that reason. So obviously I'd already read it. I knew the whole outcome. There's no mystery of who Holiday is or any of that. But the tone is a straight up 1940s film noir. Like I almost want to turn off the color and watch it again.
Yeah.
Like that.
I prefer my Batman that way too. I think there's so much insanity with Justice League movies and video games, and it's just like an explosion of color and action, and it's nice to have a Batman that just takes a breath. It's like, all right, everybody, forget about magic, forget about, let's just Batman as a detective. He's just doing detective stuff and go. It's just nice to have that like island of sanity amongst these like crazy Batman ideas out there,
Yeah. I like the idea too of oh my God, I've got you here, Sean McCoy. Great. Okay.
Oh, thanks, Steph. I wish could you type how I'm supposed to? Could you like type how your name is pronounced, like phonetically? Don't just write your name because I can see it.
Yeah, right. How do we say that out loud?
You say it like STJEXL, happy face or whatever.
I don't disagree, Misanthrope, man. That was an excellent animated film.
I've not seen that. I have to check it out.
You should. It's great. Yeah.
What's especially? I was going to ask you what your unpopular Batman opinions were.
Oh Christ!
I don't mean to interrupt the flow here.
I don't know. There's so many Batman versions now. Is there such a thing as an unpopular Batman opinion? Because you can have you can have a correct one about anything, or a negative one about anything.
Thank you, Stefan.
I feel like, okay, maybe you'll disagree. Other people have disagreed. I don't mind. And this comes weird. Well, I did murder all the Green Lanterns just now, so it's still on brand. But
yeah, you did.
I murdered the shit out of those Green Lanterns. But I feel like characters should be unique. So it's fine to have Batman and Robin. I know what the company's corporate needs are. Blah 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 blah. It's a big seller. We need to have 9,000 Batmans. But in reality, Batman should be the scariest motherfucker in the DC universe. There should be only one of him. He should be the superhero equivalent of the Joker. So that when you see Batman, you wet your motherfucking pants. Like, holy shit, he's real and he's focused on me. Time to go. Like that, right? Yeah. So if I were editor-in-chief, I would immediately begin whittling down the Bat universe to basically just Bruce. And maybe whether it's Tim or whether it's Dick but one living Robin. Like the others. Yeah,
it's tough. I mean, they're so committed. 60% of the line is Batman. I mean, you're getting rid of money. You're leaving money on the table at this point. Like they set up this system where we're dependent on Batman to this degree. If you just take the high road and cancel those books, like, oh man, I don't imagine.
The tough thing with it is it's putting all your eggs in one basket. So
I get it in spirit, but if I was in charge, I'd be like, I don't know how to fix. We just need to let these books play out at this point. I don't know how to fix it.
Well, let me ask you again, like this: both of you are a higher level than me, both as an editor and as a practitioner. Let me ask you this: I would say, corporate-wise, the money is not generated for Warner Entertainment by DC Comics. So you could look at it like, we don't give a shit about the comics, fuck them. Right. Or we have an opportunity, since it's not a giant section of our revenue, let's play with it. Let's test shit out. Let's do that weird like Dial H for Hero that we would have never done 5 years ago. But now we got this giant megacorp underneath us. We could do a 6-issue Dial H and see what this weird, and I mean like a weird take, not the standard the standard take. Like, to me, I'm like, take the fucking hit. You don't know. You don't get a home run unless you swing for it.
It's a good question. Like, are they there to? Well, I'll ask Marvel because I don't work for them. I would almost want to ask Marvel and be like, are you actually trying to make money? And I'm not trying to be facetious here,
right?
But I mean, DC, you're a pimple on Disney's ass. You know this. Now, isn't there some freedom in that where it's like, we don't care if a shit doesn't sell, as long as we put out enough to make new video games and whatever the hell, we can do whatever we want. Let's stop worrying about it. So that sounds very freeing. But if they are actually a publisher that needs to meet their bottom line, and have someone at Disney to answer to.
That's the thing.
Company,
yeah.
Right? And I don't know the answer. And I don't know if the companies know the answer to that, honestly.
Yeah.
Well, how many printing? You guys got a bunch of printings on White Knight, right? So on some level, that had to be a surprise.
Oh,
right?
Yeah. No, they did not see that coming.
They didn't see that coming. I'm sure. Like the creators doing their best. Obviously, you're bringing your A game. Everything's great on that front, and you hope for the best. But when you're going back for 3 and 4 printings on something, that's somebody in some office, some actuary, or some accountant going, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You kind of like neither Marvel nor DC, and I will say it because I'm working for both of them off and on this last couple of years. None of them are getting a Walking Dead under the current system. Neither of them is going to generate a Walking Dead level phenomenon under the current system because they can't. They literally can't.
Yeah.
So, unless the weirdest of all lottery wins, where the stars align and it's a perfect storm, and it's not, and it's got nothing to do with the quality of the creators. It's got nothing to do, it's just the system won't allow for that kind of thing to happen.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
It's unfortunate, and it's the kind of burnout, I've certainly been dealing with because I read a lot of comics, and I still pick up quite a bit of Big Two stuff, and it's all been there, done that for the most part with a lot of it. There are plenty of examples of things that stand out, but there is a lot of we're doing this story again. Oh, we're doing that story again. Oh, you're doing a soft sequel to this story and things like that, and you want it to be go in a different direction. You want to see something shake it up a bit in a way that feels like there's stakes, because it never feels like there's stakes. You always feel like you are so close to another crisis at DC that it's like, do I really want to get that invested in this book? Because in a year, they're going to wipe the continuity again anyway, or something like that. It can be a bit of a bummer. And then what inevitably happens is I do get really invested in something like the Super Sons, and then they fuck them over. It's like you finally, I'm like, oh my god, I love all this stuff, and then it's like, oh cool, let's just let's tank what would have potentially been an evergreen property for them that could have been an incredible animated series that could have created a whole new generation of Batman and Superman fans, but fuck it, right? Why don't we just not do that?
I will say this about the Batman side of the books is that they can. Thank you, Nick. That's very nice of you. I'm surprised that they're. I know every creator always says this, but bearing in mind all the shit they told me, there's no fucking way you're doing that, Mr. Thorne. I'm surprised at the shit they're letting me do. So.
Hey, but
what's up? But with the Batman books, I do think the one asset of Batman being spread all over the place is it does leave you guys, the individual creators of Batman stories, space to do a lot, right? Because there's lots of different versions out, so you can do your take and you can have your vibe, and I can go, oh, I want to read Murphy Batman, right? I don't want to read Thorne Batman. That's too cartoony.
It's like saying there's so many kids at the playground, the teachers can't possibly watch everybody. So some of these kids are getting beaten up, and some of them are doing okay. And I don't know if that's any way to run a playground. But if you are a do-it-yourselfer and focused, because you don't have the overlords staring at you the whole time, you can get away with stuff right now because it's going to slip through because there's not enough oversight. Maybe for the better. Like there's opportunity in that, no doubt. But that's not how I would prefer to run a company if I was in charge. I don't disagree. I don't disagree with what you said at all, though. I think it's a good point.
I wish that either Marvel or DC had given me an exclusive and said, we've got you for 2 years or something like that. Because with the Green Lantern thing, the short contract, I see why Editorial needs it or wants it or thinks it's desirable, because if you're fucking up, they want to be able to eject you relatively quickly. Like, oh, this sucks, get the hell out. But the problem is the way storytelling actually works. I can't tell, but a certain kind of story, it's not even like you're definitely leaving in 6 issues or you're definitely leaving in 12 issues. It's that we're going to come back and revisit at some point. And I'm like, but I'm trying to tell a story here. Like there's things that aren't going to pay off in 12 issues. There's things that are only going to start on issue 5 and pay off at issue 13, which I may not be here for.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck, man?
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
It's funny, any of these problems that publishers have, like if Marvel Comics was a single human, and I could grab Marvel Comics by the shoulder and be like, do you want to have Walking Dead numbers? Why don't you have a Walking Dead book? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? Why do you allow this? Why don't you why don't you print out more copies of Guardians of the Galaxy before the goddamn movie hits? Like, if there was one person, the problem is it's so disjointed. The left hand isn't talking to the right hand. And it's like, people will be like, well, I don't really know, and that's not my department. So good luck. You can't even fix the problems because everything is divided between different sects, and no sect is, and they're purposefully kept in the dark. Like, find an editor who knows what his numbers are.
Wow.
I mean, Marvel doesn't send you an email and say your book sold 20,000 copies. Good for you. They might say, hey, your book's got a lot of buzz, but a lot of editors have to go to Comic Cron to find out what their numbers are.
See, that's not a good place to go anyway.
Why do they do that? Like, someone explain to me, like, tell me the benefit, sales team, tell me the benefit of why you don't tell the editors what their numbers are. What good is that doing? Like, there's got to be a reason, because you know that you're not volunteering that information. But why?
Yeah.
You know?
I don't know. It seems weird to me too. Like, well, it's no way to run a business, right?
Yeah.
Because you should know these things at the editorial and corporate level, and then make decisions based upon real numbers, right? Yeah. On the creative side, it sucks if somebody says, "Okay, Geoff, I know numbers are going down, but it's really great right now. Harley Quinn, can she be in Green Lantern this month?" Not according to the story I just sold you.
Right.
Do you want to do like a weird fill-in issue where we just do a one-off flashback issue where the characters met Harley Quinn a long time ago? We might be able to squeeze that in, But I feel like it's so weird because what we're all talking about is the way it used to be, where there was an editor-in-chief who's on the premises, where there's an actual bullpen, where the writers and the artists are physically present at the office. There's not really any freelancers, right? But once it's shifted over to the freelancer model, you know how we all are. It's like fucking herding cats from an editorial point of view.
Oh, yeah.
And there's no one wants to take the hit of, well, two things. When comics were a cottage industry, Jim Shooter can stick his chin out, right? Yeah. He's like, I'm putting my stamp on Marvel Comics. Fuck it, let's go. You may not like everything, but you're going to like a lot of it, right? And I'm going to take the hits when it's time to take a hit. But in modern corporate culture, the thing is nobody wants to be the person who greenlit
the thing that gets canceled.
The thing that gets canceled fast or gets huge internet backlash because someone wore purple shorts and they should have been wearing green shorts that year, whatever. And that corporate structure does not lend itself to risk taking. Like, you have to go so far out on a limb just to say, could they have 2 more issues just to wrap up the story? That's a huge fight for some people, right? I don't want to have that fight. I don't want to be that junior editor going in to do that.
Yeah. I mean, the editors, they're trying, they answer to quarterly numbers, so they want to spike the numbers immediately and prove their worth. But that doesn't leave room for a Chris Claremont slow burn series that pays off in a year. And it's just everything is set up wrong. Everything is connected and no one can fix it because different departments don't even acknowledge what the problems are.
I call the other creators that I don't even know. Now that this is the first time that I've had to do this, but I don't know these other guys. I don't know you. But if I had a book that in any way touched on a book you were writing, I'm tracking your ass down and I'm like, look, I'm planning to do this. Some of this stuff, is that going to fuck with your weird Azrael crossover? Are you doing anything with these characters? Or I want to use a character that you use and put down. Do you have a character sheet you use, so I know the personality and I don't get the voice wrong in my book, right? I want people to recognize the guy you invented. I want them to recognize them in my book. I'm doing that because I feel like that's what a writer's supposed to do. But I don't get those contacts from other writers, and I don't know that it's because they're not inclined to. I just don't think that's the nature of the way things work. So
it's advantageous for them to keep us separated and don't talk about the stuff with other. Don't talk about page rates with each other. Don't this, don't that. Joe, sorry, I keep interrupting you, Joe.
No, you're fine. And it's also like, don't let artists talk to writers and vice versa. There's a lot of that, and then there's also I feel like by not sharing those numbers, I think there are plenty of examples of creators right now who are bitter about what happened with their books because there wasn't honesty and transparency with their numbers, and they feel like their book was doing better than it was, and they don't understand why their book was canceled and why they're not working there anymore. That stuff happens. Like that's a real thing.
Yeah.
And it makes no sense. And you're just going to keep seeing those things happen because what else is there going to be if you don't share the numbers, if you're not honest and transparent with the creators involved?
I don't think you can paste on normal corporate behavior to the kind of arts that comics are, or like a local theater company or something like that. I don't think the two streams are you can't cross those streams effectively. But the mindset of the bigger corporation is we're going to do it this way. You saw what happened with AT&T. They didn't know how to make fucking comic books. They didn't know anything about that. They don't know how to make television. They don't know how to make movies. They don't know how to do any of that shit. They make the hardware. Why are you even over here at our house? Why did you even come to our house?
Yeah, it's funny. I'm a DC guy. This company has employed me for 15 years. And I don't mind rocking the boat a little bit because I want, I have their best interest in mind. But I'm not sure. Like, I want to do more Batman, but if rumors are true and they're gonna try to lowball me on my page rate, then I might be done. And that's their right. If they have a new objective to save money on pages, and I'm not part of their future, that makes me sad. But like, I don't want to be a part of that corporate environment. At that point, it's
it's time to go.
I already don't like the professional culture where everyone's obsessed with Twitter. I feel like all my friends are on they're on drugs, and they treat this thing like it really matters. And they're like, I'm just waiting for them all to detox and get back to doing good work.
It's that second thing. That's what you said. I don't mind people playing around on Twitter. God knows I'm there a lot. But being on it like for fun and advertising purposes is a whole different shot than being on there and like, you said what? What's your address? I need to meet you at a bar. Come, meet me at this bar in the back alley. We're going to settle this. Like, so what? It's Twitter. What the fuck are you talking about? Jesus Christ.
It gets really bad. I mean, Perch and I have even joked about maybe we got to do a bit where he just reads tweets to me, doesn't tell me the names or the context, and then I have to say if that person should have tweeted that or not.
Well, he did a thing, now that it's his channel anyway, he did a thing when people were attacking Green Lantern where he went in and he took out the actual words in the balloons, but his font that he used was very similar to what the real thing would be, and he just started posting these up, and people were losing their shit. They were losing their shit at him because theoretically he's coming at me with it, and they were losing their shit at me because they thought that's what I really wrote in the comic book. And I was just like, are you all stupid? What the fuck is wrong with you? Jesus Christ.
No, but it's crazy. I mean, it is like I've watched so many people I know that I'm like, you've had me to your home for dinner. And then you see, and it's not that they're doing anything to me. I'm not trying to imply that, but then you go on Twitter and you're just like, oh my God, what are you doing? Like, it's nuts. It's like it's because you see it. People are intentionally trying to be as insane as possible because they're trying to get a viral tweet. And then when they get that viral tweet, they get so crippled with anxiety that they shut down. And you're like, do you not see what's happening here? Like, don't do that. Like, stop trying to get a viral tweet and then being upset when it happens. Like,
the other thing is like in reality, like, let's say we are different political persuasions, and I'm not talking about extremes, right? Like, I'm not talking about a fucking Proud Boy versus a Black Lives Matter person. Okay? I'm just talking about regular people who have massive disagreements about faith or whatever. In real life, what happens is, you can see visual social cues, right? I'm at a bar. We're having the same talk we're having right now. I just met Sean. I kind of know Joe. We stray into some territory that is making it look like Sean's looking a little tense. Joe's looking a little uncomfortable. I don't know exactly why, but why don't we talk about Ghostbusters now?
Yeah, Ghostbusters.
That might not be the best.
How dare you? Why would you go down that street, you lunatic?
You know what? You want to tell me Jesus isn't real? Fine, but do not fuck with me on Bankman.
Fuck you guys. But you know what I mean? Like in real life, there's all these many social cues that you're not even aware you're getting that tell you, let's power this bullshit down. The opposite is true, especially on Twitter, where now everybody's trying to one up. I can't tell you how many times I've been called a racist, a transphobe, a homophobe, all because I said Wanda was right. There should be fewer mutants in the Marvel universe. I'm like, how did we get over here? How did we get all the way over here?
Yeah.
I remember people were trying in the replies, like almost to like pull you aside and have a conversation.
And I'm like, and it was all about, and all of it was about, say it the way you're supposed to be saying it, say it the way we want you to say it. And I'm like, fuck off. But that isn't the point. The point is everybody escalates instead of de-escalates.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's no interest in de-escalation whatsoever.
Yeah. Ugh. I mean, in a way, I feel like there kind of is no real problem here because the psycho outrage on both sides, it's just 5% of 5% or whatever it is.
Yep.
Most readers don't give a shit, and that's good.
No, they don't.
Most readers don't care. Like most readers hopefully don't follow me when I was on Twitter. I would happy if 98% of my readers don't follow me on Twitter. If their interaction with me is like once a month, I happen to catch a tweet, great. Mostly they show up at their shop. Either there's a new White Knight or there isn't. And that's the end of their interaction with me. And that's how it should be. Most people are hearing about this stuff like, this is insane. It's just like 2% of everyone that's diving in on this. And it makes it seem like everyone is. Now, when you go to a Comic Con and a Bar Con, Twitter does come up a lot because suddenly it gets real and people are like, I remember that thing you said, or I don't talk to that guy because he, favorited something from blah, 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 blah. And it just makes comic creators look like idiots. And I wish that we would just knock it off. And I'm not saying get off of Twitter because Geoff, it sounds like you're doing it right.
Well, I'm a goofball though. What you got to remember too is that different people have different kind of persuasions, and our personality as writers, I'm unusual for a writer. I'm much more of an extrovert than the average writer is. Yeah. I was an actor for a million years. I work in Hollywood.
That's right.
There's a whole bunch of things that offset all these things. Plus, I had an established sort of forum persona back when I was quote unquote just a fan. I acted and behaved a particular way. So if I suddenly shift because, well, now he's writing Green Lantern, it's like, well, dude, you were like a dick last week and now you're trying to be, Shirley Temple. We've got the receipts. So it's better to just be consistent. But the other side is I've been on the internet since there was an internet. Most of this shit is just gas. Like, I think a lot of the people don't realize they still have spent most of their lives without social media. Certainly in our age group, like anyone over 30 still has spent most of their time on Earth without social media. So this thing's hitting them like a fucking typhoon. What you were saying about people getting all, oh my God, now I'm all tense because I got a viral tweet. I'm like, I got into a beef with Candace Owens because I said one thing to her. I got mentioned in fucking Breitbart, right? And you know what? Who cares? Who cares? Who cares? A week later, it's about some guy who was eating a hot dog the wrong fucking way. Like, nobody cares. None of it sticks. Everything's written in sand. Every single thing is written in sand. Relax, everybody.
The real world doesn't care.
No, the real world does not give a shit.
And we're so happy that now everyone on the street is acting like it's Twitter all the time. I'm so glad most people are fucking busy with their bills and their kids and their whatever.
Yeah, no shit, man. I had a lovely talk. I met a guy. I was walking my dog today, and this, I'm guessing he's a Hasidic Jew or certainly Orthodox. He came up to me with his daughter. We were just talking, literally sat down on the sidewalk, me and my little dog and him and his 2-year-old. And we had this talk about movies. And I was like, I'm not certain this could happen in social media. This event, I'm certain, in fact, what room would we both be in that I could even meet this dude? Like, much less have a decent interaction with him. And he's Orthodox. I'm straight up atheist.
Yeah.
You know, that would be enough on Twitter to have us be at each other's throats.
Yeah.
So,
Speaking of Orthodox Jews.
Speaking of race swapping, go ahead.
So this happened to me years ago. I was hanging out in Kew Gardens, and I'm walking to a friend's place, and there's this woman standing outside her home, and she gets my attention, and she goes, "You're not Jewish, are you?" And now this could go in so many different directions with someone asking about something like that. And I was like, no. And she was like, oh, good. Could you come into my home and turn off my bedroom light? Because I had forgotten to turn it off. And so I did that, you know, and it was fine. I don't think I ever told my parents about that because I'm not sure they would have been thrilled to be like, oh, I went into a stranger's home to turn
just
off.
Because they invited me, Mom and Dad.
Did you goose step your way into the house first?
You know, it was just, but yeah, that was, you know, it was funny because I've never had someone, you know, ask me it in that way. But I'm like, oh God, I have no idea where this is going, but
and that was the last time we saw Joe.
Yes, but I guess since someone asked like an actual question, does anyone have a favorite Batman storyline here?
Well, I just wrote in the chat. I really, again, this isn't because you're here, Sean, but I really love White Knight. I think it's excellent.
Thanks,
and I'm not a big Batman guy, so me liking that. To pull it out. I like the laughing fish from back in the day, which I don't know if that was an arc. And I like both versions. I like the Alan Davis sort of comic book version of and the animated version of Mask of the Phantasm. I like both of those.
It's funny. Mask of the Phantasm had a sequel in the comics that people don't talk about. It takes place like 5 minutes after the end, where she gets out of the rubble, and it's not very good. Yeah, there's a comic book version that's a sequel to Mask of the Phantasm.
Okay.
I found it online for $15. It's apparently worth something.
Okay.
It's not great. It's like a studio. What's it called when you have to write a sequel for something? It's like a studio obligated sequel.
Yeah. Right.
But I wish I could tell you more about it, but I forget.
Right. Comics for the completist in your house.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah. Batman story. Yeah, I'm a animated series guy, of course. Well, for sure. Heart of Ice. Yeah. I love the Grey Ghost stuff a lot.
Yeah.
Oh man,
the Grey Ghost.
Yeah, that was so like good. For a kid, I just shat myself. I'm like, oh my God, Batman was a kid just like me watching cartoons, as I am now watching Batman.
Just like me.
Yeah. They animated this shot where they do a 360 pan around Bruce Wayne, you know, cell animation, animating like face.
Right.
Like that took some doing. Like, we need this shot to let this moment sink in. And I was like, oh, like that's when I knew this is different than He-Man. Something is happening with this show that I'm not getting from G.I. Joe and Transformers.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And that's when I started to be like, what is this that's sticking with me all these years? And then I, started reading better. I stopped reading Image stuff and started finding stuff that is more highbrow. I don't know how to say it.
It's that there was a sea change in animation, and those guys brought it in.
Thank you.
Where they all had enough clout where they could say, we want to do it like this. Yeah. And everyone involved had enough chips stacked up. They're like, all right, take a risk. Right? Yeah. Because it wasn't really a risk with that particular set of creators.
Yeah, not anymore.
And they knocked it out of the park.
Yeah.
It's the same sort of thing happened with Avatar, The Last Airbender. And the same sort of thing happened with, you can tell the different eras of kids, quote unquote, kids animation, because somebody will be first and then everybody after them. Right. Yeah. So that was first sea change for us. That changed animation for the better, I think. Mm-hmm. What do you call it? The Adventure Time guys came in, and I think for a while changed animation for the better. Yeah, there's some conversation about whether that should now shift again. Yeah. And then the Avatar guys came in, and they literally broke every rule, literally broke 100% of the established rules at that time. But none of those things would have happened if the people involved had not built up enough equity for the company to go, oh, it's you guys? All right, fine, go crazy. See what happens.
Yeah. It's funny. I tend to think of it as like, what's the nutritional content of this entertainment? Like, I almost like you're thinking about the side of a box of Cheerios. So, a lot of comic book stories are just sugar. It's just, salt. It's stuff that you don't need, but, I guess your body can take a little bit of it. And some of it's vitamins, some of it's vegetables that you actually need. And for me, the balance of writing a graphic novel is like, how much nutritional content do I need? Like, I need to actually give readers some vegetables here that they're not going to love. But and I'm going to give them some sugar, too, to make the vegetables worthwhile. Like, I don't want to do a vapid story that's just a Michael Bay, film or whatever it is. I want to give some vitamins in here and make people really think. But I also want the splashy Batman, punching people in the face stuff for those readers. It's kind of a balance, I guess.
I think the hard part to say, and you have to do it without singling out any particular creator, but you have to take the work seriously. And you have to have a skill set that allows you to do what you just described. You have the bells and whistles of comics are certain kind of tropes must occur in a comic book. If a superhero comic. In a superhero comic book, certain kind of things must occur. Everyone reading the comic knows the good guys are essentially going to win at the end. How long it takes to get there might vary, but they're going to win. And they're also not going to age that much, and they're not going to die, and things like that, right? Yeah. But you're still a fucking writer. So that doesn't mean you turn Selena Kyle into just, Bruce Wayne's side piece because you're so focused on the plot that you forget that's a person inside the Catwoman costume, right? So sometimes it does just come straight up down to talent. Like they may all have the same intention, and then some people just can't execute. I like the work. Like, I'm not a huge, in fact, in the same way I'm not a big Batman fan. I'm really not a big Harley fan. And that fucking Harley book, that was the shit. Like, I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, the Sajik one you're talking about.
Yeah. I saw that. I saw the
review.
You
made me care about her finally.
I wasn't going to pick that book up. I saw the Comics Pop guys do one of their back issues reviews of it, and I was like, oh shit, that looks like the shit. And I went and checked it out, and damned if they weren't right. But that's because the person executing could execute. Another person telling, bye, Nick. Another person telling that same story, exactly the same plot, we'd all be sitting there going, wah, wah, wah. So.
Yeah, for me, it's tough.
Shut up, you iron.
I did a video about this with Perch before, but City of Crime from David Latham is just, it's criminally underrated. It's one of the single best post-crisis Batman stories I've ever read. Okay. It's just, it crushes it. I can't believe more people don't talk about that story. And then with pre-crisis, similar to what you were getting at before, Geoff, I mean, for me, it's like if Marshall Rogers is drawing it, I mean, forget it. I am there. To that point, I love what Jerry Conway and Doug Menck did after that for the 6 years from 1980 straight to Crisis, because they really took what Steve Englehart and Marshall Rogers did
and really
ran with it in such an incredible way. I mean, it is a crime that DC hasn't collected all of that yet. They collected all the Jerry stuff. They haven't collected all the Doug stuff.
Okay, that's weird.
And that's fine, Evil Cat. You can be wrong.
That reminds me. There's another arc that I fucking loved, and it was a giant crossover event or mini crossover event. Fucking No Man's Land. I was all over that shit.
Oh yeah.
All in on No Man's Land. That was the shit.
Yeah, and that was pretty grounded too.
Ironically, No Man's Land was pretty grounded, but no, it's that's almost like its own sort of
Shut
beast.
up, Joe.
Oh my god, I must be getting tired. I almost missed that one.
No, it's like its own beast in a way, because it's such a gigantic crossover. It's hard to just pin it down to that. But no, all that stuff is wonderful. But no, Batman, he's all right, I guess.
Yeah.
That was your summation.
Yeah.
He's done a few decent things.
It's I mean, this is man. This is going to sound like the problems of the 1%, but I'm running
Here we go.
Problem now. I know. I'm going to play the world's smallest violin. I'm in this problem now where I don't know where else in comics I really want to go. Getting my own Batman universe was always, I didn't even think I'd get to write Batman. And now, being seen however I am, some would say overrated, some would say whatever, and that's all fine. But I don't know where I can go up from here because I won't work for Marvel. I have a bad history for that company that I won't get into unless people really want to know. Let me.
That might be something for BarCon if we ever meet.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I had some legal issue, and their rates are just low, and they don't want to afford me honestly. But so back to my point, like I don't know where the hell I'm supposed to go after Batman. Like I'm sort of thinking like, should I just look outside of comics now, or just duck down and do my own indie stuff, or just keep coming back and hitting another White Knight every few years to do,
You mean come back to that universe and just do more story? Well, I mean, you're real. See, it's hard because when you're talking to other writers, or like I tell Joe, I'm reading Beckstar. I fucking love Beckstar. If I didn't know Joe, I'd still be saying I love Beckstar, right? I'm a frosty son of a bitch when it comes to good writing. Okay, so if I'm telling you nice things, I'm not being nice. What I would ask you is, you've built this sort of mountain for yourself based on your ability. So there's nothing wrong with knowing your swing. I always feel like people are like, you. When I was doing indie comics, my partner and I, is a really gifted artist, we just walked into the comic book shop and we were like, where's our book going to sit? Like realistically, who on this wall, whose ass can we kick? Right? And we went through it all until we got to above the halfway mark. And we're like, if we're in the top third of all of these people, let's go make this book. We deemed ourselves to be good enough to do that. Now, I don't believe it was arrogance or hubris or anything like that. In the same way with you, I would say I wouldn't be concerned with what the fuck people think, where can I go from here, or whether people like me or not. Like, what fucking story do you want to tell? Like, you've got enough clout. And frankly, if I could draw like you, dude, I don't even know if I'd be messing with TV. Like, I'm not kidding. I would leap into the graphic novel world and just start telling whatever the fuck story I wanted to tell, because you have enough chops that your pitch would be so dazzling to Random House or whoever. This is not a compliment. This is a professional assessment, right?
No,
I would start looking at graphic novels. I don't know what the length is for something like that, but long form graphic novels, just like a normal novelist, and that might be the place you go, and come back to this bullshit when you want to.
The ironic thing with Batman is 70% of my income doesn't come from DC. It comes from the original art sales.
That's like insane.
They could hand me a shitty contract next time, and you could argue you should still take it, because if most of your money is coming from people in France buying Batman covers from you, then all you need is an excuse for Batman that's published, and that's your big enchilada right there. Who cares what happens with the actual books?
Jumping Jesus, man. Like,
I know it's a good problem to have, and I'm really not complaining, but I do appreciate the feedback.
I would say the opposite thing too. Like people ask. I've been reading about all this, this consternation about the prices, the salaries. I look at the salary that I'm doing, and I'm like, I work in Hollywood, guys. I make television for a fucking living. I'm doing this because I want to do this, and I really love it, and whatever. But I could not live where I live on this salary for this one book. I literally, it's me and my wife. We've got a 2-story little, townhouse we live in. I don't even have kids. We don't even have children. And there's no way. Like, this is like supplementary income to me.
But it's poverty line. It's poverty line income for most professionals. Period.
If it was my sole income, and I had a friend who, I won't say who worked at one of the big two, and I won't say which, but he actually had to say to the company, I can't do any more books for you unless you give me more books to do. Like, I can't do this one book anymore. I have to be able to do at least 2 or 3, or I've got to go do something completely else because I can't live on this. And that's wrong, because these things generate so much income for the company at large. And in cases like yours, where you have been around long enough to generate a long run, where it's got its own fan base, where there are people who don't want to hear about Batman unless it's White Knight, that means that at some point in the Hollywood side, someone's going to exploit all that. And you might get some chips off of it, but we know that going in. We already know that. So why don't we pay the guy a higher salary to attract him, to make him not get to that level where he's like, you should wish to stay on at the company. The company should make, right? Yeah. You should look at your salary. You should look at what's potential and go, I kind of really still like writing Batman.
Yeah.
And they should be like, good, here's a bunch more money.
Yeah. They definitely need to reinvest in themselves. I mean, you go into Marvel's offices, and the biggest, most famous editor is sharing a 10 by 10 tiny room with no window with two other people, and they're swapping farts all day. It's like an inhumane way to store hamsters, and that's the greatest company in the history of comics, right there. Right. I mean, there's a welcome desk right outside the elevator door. It's not even meant to be an office. It's just like, oh, hey, there's a desk there, and I'm talking to a secretary. It's just like, man, just take 0.5% of the profits that Spider-Man makes. Just give it to Marvel and say, please treat these people better.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
I have an actual, not joke, bat pitch I should talk to you about.
Oh, hey, Ethan.
Hey, how's it going? But we should talk. So.
Yeah.
There's a lot wrong with it, and I think it's part of because of the way the business grew up. It was a cottage industry for so long. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you look back over it, and Joe's a big historian for comics that I learned when I talked to Joe. He's too young to know half the shit he knows, but the
big historian for Four Loko too.
Stop it. But there were eras where a particular editor-in-chief made the company act like a company. But for the most part, it's what you described, Sean. It's all these little fiefdoms sort of banging up against each other without coordination. Yeah. And that was okay when it was a cottage industry and the sales of the books actually determined the survival of the company. But now they're subsets of these multinational companies, and they don't they can't work that way, right? Yeah. I'm like, if you're going to be partially like Hollywood, then fucking be like Hollywood and do it the way Hollywood does it. Yeah. Right? If not, come over here and be like real publishers. Yeah. Like do what real publishers do.
There was a piece that Heidi Dawn, I forget her name, she wrote years ago saying, like, it's kind of nice that comics is sort of a mom and pop industry where anybody can walk in and anybody, like, isn't that sweet? Isn't that charming? And I'd say, like, if you agree with everybody and like everybody, and then, that's fine. But the minute you have differing opinions and suddenly people are getting into the industry that aren't qualified in any way, and there's no HR department, so suddenly sex offenders, there's no background checks on people that are getting in, and like, I don't care what your politics are, but having HR in any business is a good idea, and we don't have that. Like, I disagree with what Heidi said. I wish there was more of a checks and balances system before people got in. I'm talking artists, writers, editors. Like, I wouldn't give an artist a book to write unless he proved to me that he studied how to write a book. Like,
I would say this: the freelancer model serves the corporation for a million different reasons. When 100%. People started talking about the gig economy, I was like, so what? You're all just freelancers now. Like all of us who've been freelancers out here, all the shit you're whining about, that's just life to us. We've always been doing that. Yeah. And what it does, what is it? They don't have to pay health benefits. They don't have to maintain an HR department except for the few employees that are permanent. They don't have to. There's just a bunch of shit. What you get out of it is you're an independent contractor. You get your full check. Go with God. And if you're smart with your money, I suppose you can get a life out of that. But most people aren't smart with their fucking money. Most people can barely balance their checkbook. Yeah. No one's investing in it. Like, I'm saying in real terms. Like, and I'm not excluding myself. Not excluding myself. But so it serves the company and it serves the bottom line in a way that is short-sighted, like you were saying before. It's short-term thinking. What you want is what they tried to do with CrossGen, and then that imploded because the guy in charge, one, had personal problems, but he also got a big fucking swelled head and reached really far out when he should have kept the original plan, and then we'd be talking about cross-gen like we talk about image right now.
Yeah, instead, it's funny because Perch did a thing on cross-gen, and I thought it was part 1, but I'd love to know the rest of the story on cross-gen. Not right now, but some future time.
I think he'll go into it at some point. There's so many stories about some of these smaller publishers that like almost made a gigantic impact. Like Malibu, like First Comics, places like that. Although First Comics, I guess Grimjack might be a show on Amazon soon, so it took a while.
I'm here for it, and all these children are going to act like they were big fans their whole lives, and I'll be like, I'm going to be like, fuck off with that.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because John Ostrander was a playwright, and then I think Grimjack was one of, if not the first, like ongoing comic he worked on.
He's one of my favorite writers, literally of all time. Like, I love that guy's work. He is so fucking fantastic.
He absolutely is. But yeah, I mean, and Faust is going to be a cartoon.
No, it's not. Nobody's making a Faust cartoon.
It got optioned. It might happen.
Who optioned Faust? Oh my god! Is there a Playboy channel? Jesus.
Yeah, it's Matt Pizzolo from Black Mask is one of the people involved in making that happen.
I guess if there's nothing wrong with Faust, but I'm wondering who the large audience is for that cartoon. Like, holy shit.
Yeah,
it's my ignorance here. What is Faust? I apologize.
Faust is an indie comic about magic and serial killers.
Okay.
And put the phrase deviant sex in quotes.
Whoa,
because it's so far past deviant sex. Like, it's left deviant sex is like the kiddie pool of a Faust. So like if you saw a child if you saw a child carrying a Faust comic book, you would want to take them away from their parents and put them into some kind of therapy. What's that? Like, and with all of that, it's one of the most exquisitely rendered books you'll ever pick up.
Sure.
The story is actually well thought out. It's a weird psychodrama thing going on.
Yeah.
It's just that when you say adult and you're talking about Faust, you're talking about some grown ass folks. Like, these people are grown as fuck in this book.
Yeah. It's also just an important part of black and white comics, like that indie history. Like, you should check it out if you haven't ever read it, just to be aware of what's going on. Yeah. And then
I got copies around here.
Yeah.
And someone else pointing out American Flag, not a TV show yet, it's a crime. I mean, that was revolutionary. I talked to someone before too who talked about, when they were talking about Howard Chaykin comics, that they were like, they love Howard Chaykin comics because he somehow works into most of his comics a Jew getting a blowjob. So he was really into that. It was like
Chaykin is awesome. He's one of those creators that has only improved with age.
Yeah.
Like, some people get, you run out of steam at some point. Sometimes age gets you, whatever. And then you see these people. I'm like, he is still drawing like this. How the fuck old is this guy? Jesus Christ! Yeah. And writing. He's like your ass, Sean.
If you did a comic called "Jews Getting Blowjobs," would you be canceled? Or
that's a tough one.
I guess it depends who's blowing them.
Yes, but
well, I mean, he also, like, it's weird. The lady who made the movie, what's the word? What's that movie? It was about Tina, Brandon Tina. What's the name of that movie?
Oh my God.
Okay, it doesn't matter right now for these purposes, but that was like a revolutionary, groundbreaking thing about trans rights and the struggle of this trans woman to have a life and all of this shit and the tragedy of her life. Yeah. And the amount of work that people had to go through to get a mainstream studio to make that movie, right? At the time, like, I can only imagine the uphill, naked climbing up Mount Everest climb that it took to get that movie made. And then you flash forward to 10 or 15 years later, and the director gets invited to a college campus to discuss her film, thinking, I'm going to come in, these people it's college kids, are going to be open-minded or whatever. Yeah. And all they wanted to talk about is, why didn't you cast a trans woman in the lead role?
Yeah, it was Boys Don't Cry, yeah.
Right. Thank you very much, William. Yeah. And she basically got castigated for stealing the appropriating the culture of that she was not a part of. And, why didn't you, and I was like, you motherfuckers, like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, but I feel like that's what's happened a lot of the time with people like Chaykin in comics. This guy was groundbreaking. You couldn't get more left-leaning than fucking Howard Chaykin. But he's left in a very aggressive, he's an old school New York lefty Jew. So he's not taking any shit. Like, he's not that, he's like a SNCC member. He's not taking any fucking shit from any fucking body. And yet he'll do a cover and taken out of context.
Yeah.
Right? They're like, oh, what are you trying to say? Blah, blah, blah. We're going to cancel your ass. And I'm like, did you read the book?
Yeah.
Did you actually read the book?
He had a rough life growing up. He was not someone coming from
nobody's. Yeah, he's no silver spoon guy. He's not a silver spoon guy. Yeah. And I keep saying this all the time. Nobody who worked in comics, certainly all those years, certainly someone who worked in comics all those years, they didn't do it because of the money. They did it because they fucking love comics. Okay.
Oh my God. I've had a lot of conversations with Howard over the years of this or that. Oh my God, there was this one con we're talking, and he was talking about how much he hated Will Eisner. And he's talking about he's at this dinner, and it's him, it's Will Eisner, it's Jules Pfeiffer, a bunch of other guys.
Wait, Will was actually there?
Yeah, and this is years ago. He's telling this story. I was not at this dinner. But he's talking about this, and he's like, and Will kept give him like little digs, over the course of the dinner. And Howard's like, I was so upset, I just got up from the table, I had to walk away. And he's like, and Jules Pfeiffer, got up and ran after me, and and Jules is like, comforting Howard, and he goes like, don't worry, Howard, he's gonna be dead soon.
Oh my God.
And then Howard ends the story with, and by the end of that year, he was dead.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Yeah. Don't fuck with the big dog. Howard is not playing with you. Yeah. But you can tell it is fiction. He's a no-take shorts type of guy. And he's the guy who wants to have the real conversation. Like, if you're going to talk about stuff, I'm here to talk about it with you, but you better be ready to actually talk about it. And I respect that. I always have respected that. His stuff that's quote unquote offensive is always to make a point. It's never just to offend. Like, he's trying to make you pay attention with his work. And you do, but nowadays everybody just skims the fucking headline. So they'll look at the image and they'll see that somebody else, someone approves influencer has decided it's the bad thing. Yeah. And then the mob comes. And as Sean has pointed out, the mob that is 5% of 5% of the people come after him. And I can picture Howard going, who are these ducks trying to peck my ankles? Like, fuck all of you. You know what I mean? Like, okay.
That was,
I see.
Oh my God.
I don't know how to comment on the right side of the screen here.
Don't worry about it. Don't do it how you're doing it.
Okay, sorry. Yeah. Hi everybody. Thank you.
You're good. But
I remember my Howard Chaykin story. He wasn't even there. I'm hanging out with Klaus Janson, and Klaus was like, I just met him, but we had good chemistry and all that, and I've been a fan for years. And he goes, I really want to do a Punisher story, but I don't think Marvel would want me to do that. And I go, why? And he goes, well, because I'm. And he stops, and I go, because you're gay? And he's like, well, yeah. I'm like, yeah, Klaus, and I just met him, and I wasn't sure if this joke would work. And I'm like, fuck it, I think Klaus is gonna laugh at this. And I go, yeah, Klaus, but your art's not gay. And luckily, he starts laughing, and he goes, what does that mean? I'm not drawing flowers and stuff. And I'm like, no, you have a very masculine line, and you have, it was a very non-politically correct conversation, but Klaus and I are friends and we're laughing about it, so it's all good, everybody. So he goes, well, whose art is gay? And all I could think of was Howard Chaykin. And he goes, what? And I go, and I'm trying to like pick up the thread here or backpedal. I'm like, the way he draws butts, like man's asses, like very tight, pert, and everyone's standing up straight. And I'm just like, Klaus is never going to hang out with me again. This is insane. Why the hell did I even try to make this joke?
This is hysterical.
And I'm happy to say to this day that Klaus and I are very close friends. And I don't know if Howard Chaykin has ever, one day he's going to come up to me and be like, I heard you
What the?
said my art was gay.
You know what's funny though about Chaykin? Chaykin's art is so precise and it's a very specific thing. But again, I'm an older gentleman now. But when I was a younger gentleman, I certainly was aware of his adult material as well. And he brought the same fucking juice to Black Kiss that he brought to everything else he did.
Like everything. He does not mess around.
And if his stuff is gay friendly, it's because it's body friendly. It's not because he's one thing or the fucking other.
Yeah, I know.
You know, I wouldn't worry about it, Sean. I don't think Howard is sweating that shit.
No, I don't. I know what I know about him through Klaus, and Klaus knows my sense of humor, and I'm just like, thank God Klaus started laughing because I'm like, what do you mean my art's gay or not gay?
I can't believe that. Like every time it comes up, like there's always people shocked that Klaus is gay.
I don't know why anyone's shocked that anyone's gay at this point. Like,
that's true. Yeah,
like, he was open about it in like interviews in like the late 70s, early 80s. He was pretty
he was just straight up out all the time.
He was never like not that he would just just proclaim it, but you could tell when you're reading the interviews, like, oh, okay,
right. I wrote a one-shot spinoff called Von Fries with Klaus, and I knew Klaus had never gotten to do like a good German Nazi story or whatever. And he always really wanted to do that. And he's German. And he I know. Don't worry. This is
how do we get in this neighborhood? How do we drive down this street?
I need you to come in and switch the light off for me. You're not Jewish, are you? So I go, okay. And he goes, well, I have a lot of German guilt because my parents are from there, and it's, you never can. Klaus is like 65 at the time, and I mean, a lot of people have what he described as German guilt. So he wanted to do something that was pro-Jewish, that addressed the Nazis, but was about the Jews being the heroes and whatever.
Sure.
And he was getting kind of nervous because he's like, well, but aren't we going to get attacked because of this new woke culture? Are we allowed to do this story? And I go, what do you mean? He goes, well, we're two white guys, and neither of us is Jewish, so are we allowed to do this story? And I'm like, well, you're gay, so that's kind of a shield, right?
Yeah.
Like, they can't attack you. He goes, what does being gay have anything to do with being able to do a book? But I go, nothing. But the way that the woke culture works is if you check one or two of the boxes, they tend to leave you alone, right?
I feel like a lot of you guys, I'm black, right? I should.
Whoa, slow down.
I know. I'm just going to let everybody know. I know. I've been black the whole time.
Hold on.
I'm black. I've been black the whole time. But what I will say about that is, you guys got to start realizing who you actually are. Like, one of the things about being part of one of those marginalized groups all these years is you have to walk in with a certain amount of baseline self-knowledge, because a bunch of people are going to start telling you who they think you are based on stereotypes. So, so the script's been flipped a little bit. White guys are feeling some of that now. But if you weren't a shitbag before, odds are very high you're not a shitbag now. And if the woke culture, whatever the fuck that means this week, decides to come for you, I'm like, come for me, bitches. Come on, bring it. Because I'm here to write my stories. If I only wrote stories that came out of me being a black guy from Washington, D.C., I wouldn't be employed. I would never be employed. If I only wrote stories about men, I would never be employed. You know what? So, and I'm going to say this in the saltiest way possible. You come for me like that, you can suck a dick.
There you go.
Fuck that. Okay?
Yeah.
Read the story, like the story, don't like the story.
Yeah.
If you find me backstage and you want to talk about the real grown-up shit, I'm your boy for that too. But understand, you may not get what you expect.
Yeah.
And if you can't handle that, you probably don't want to walk down the street.
Yeah.
And I see a lot of people who are excellent creators, like the lady who made Boys Don't Cry. Yeah. Many of whom are quote unquote trying to do it right. And they don't have room to even do it right, because if you don't dot your I exactly the right way, you're instantly thrown on the Nazi pot. And I'm like, if there's no room between I didn't say it exactly the way you wanted me to say it and Nazi, I'm like, there's no conversation here. So I tell every skilled writer that I feel like is doing it right, that I look at their work and I'm not detecting any of the bullshit. I'm like, you do your thing, and if the so-called mob comes for you, either just ignore them, right? If you want to fight them on your terms,
Yeah.
And if you don't want to fight them, that's great because they don't fucking matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Like you keep pointing out the
Yeah.
numbers. 5% or 5% ain't shit.
Yeah.
So
that's right. Yeah. I think it's just this guilt that comes along with being a straight white guy and being responsible for the death of Native Americans and all that.
Sure.
It's like
this
natural tendency to be like, yeah, sorry about that. Like I do get that. I think a lot of the wokeness does come from it used to come from a good place because no one wants to be a dick in hindsight, but obviously
it's defensive wokeness.
It's not in a good place now.
It's performative. It's performative fake wokeness, right?
Yeah.
Because I have male privilege. Privilege is this. My wife is a 5'1" woman. Okay, she's relatively attractive to very attractive, depending on what your thing is. Right? For me, she's stunning. But she goes out of the house and she's got a whole different set of bag of tricks she's got to worry about than I ever have to think about. Guy following me down the street, well, you better bring a lunch, dude, because I'm gonna be holding on to this wallet. Yeah. Okay. But my wife can't think like that. Yeah. She has to be on swivel all the time. Yeah. She gets on an elevator with a bunch of dudes and it's just her and a bunch of dudes. She has to think. I don't. That's privilege. Yeah. That's literally privilege. Do I feel guilty that there are rapists in the world? No, I don't carry any personal guilt for any rapist in the world, but I'm aware the offset to this is why I hate fake wokeness, because real wokeness is I'm aware that this exists. I'm not carrying any personal baggage, so there's no way you're going to guilt me in anything. But I'm also going to make a point of not making the woman that's in my office in any way uncomfortable. I'm not going to do anything that's going to make her feel like I'm doing anything but business here. Right. If I get on an elevator and it's just some lady, I make sure that I'm as far away from her and that I'm just focused on pressing those buttons or I'm in my phone or whatever. Lady, I'm not thinking about you. Yeah. And like I'm folding in big black guy to that. But every guy has to think like that, and every woman has to think like that, and no guys have to think like that. So that's privilege. I don't want to. My goal is not to have people walking around carrying guilt. I want people to feel the way they feel and be honest about the way they feel so that we can all talk about it. And what's the word? The public square is where we all live together. But I'm not saying it's you, Sean, obviously. But if some dude wants to burn a cross because he really fucking hates black guys, burn that cross, dude. Burn that cross in your yard. As long as the smoke's not fucking with my lungs, I'm good. Like straight up, I'm fine with it because America's built on that. But when we step out in public, politeness, punctuality, follow the fucking law, right? Don't start none, won't be none. So you shouldn't be carrying around any extra guilt unless you know something about you that I don't know. No, like if you did some shit, carry the guilt for it. If you feel bad about some shit you actually did, then like carry guilt. There's a difference between that and trying to offset past ills.
I remember being in Brooklyn and I was drunk. And I was with my black friends, and I had an umbrella that looked like a samurai sword, and I have it over my shoulder. And I didn't realize you're not supposed to carry anything that looks like a weapon in New York. So I got stopped by these cops, and I'm like, "What?" And the guy's on foot, and he's nice. He's a shorter white guy, and there's another black guy there, and they're like, "What do you got there? What do you got there?" And I go, "What?" So he takes this umbrella. It has a katana handle, and you open it up in this umbrella. He's like, "What are you doing, man?" I go, "What?" He goes, last week on the subway, there was a katana sword fight and someone got hurt. So you can't do this. And I'm like thinking, I know I'm not going to get in trouble because it's just an umbrella. So I'm like, I start messing with the cop. I'm like, "Oh, come on, man. I didn't know that. I apologize." And I literally have my hand on the cop's chest, like patting him on the chest. And I'm like, "No,
oh
dude,
my God.
I'm not that guy." Yeah. But
God!
I read the situation. I knew the guy was sort of joking around with me. I took a chance. Now, as we walked away, my black friend rightly said, "I would have never joked around putting my hand on the cop's chest when he thought I had a sword."
That's right. So, but you got but that's not guilt for you.
No,
you're not carrying baggage for that. That's not. Dude. That's a paradigm in which we all exist. What we need to do is acknowledge that the paradigm exists. Yeah. And if you're of a mind to offset it, and if you're not a mind to do something against it, just don't add to it. Yeah. That's all. Like, we can all get along if we can all get along. That's the way I look at it. Like, I'm sorry for you, man, but you know, I've had very bad experiences with cops. That story, your black friend is exactly right. That that shit, I'm like, he touched the cop.
I know. I get it. Like, when people tell me there's no such thing as white privilege, they're like, oh, hold on, I do have a story. This might be the first time ever, but this technically I did have privilege because that cop should have had a knee in my back.
Oh my God! Are you kidding? I'd have been face down on the fucking pavement.
I know. And all my black friends are looking at me like, look at this motherfucker, this white guy touching a cop, and the cop's fine with it. I'm pretty sure they made me buy drinks the rest of the night.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess they took it to the wall too. That's a little far. None of that was anybody's fault.
Right. Well, they all had, WIC cards and all that, so I was the only one with money, of course.
God damn it! Yeah, I mean, I feel like if you can't be honest about it, you can't get near it. I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm just so tired of the sort of overheated internet shit. And I hear this story all the time. The woke mob came. I'm like, fuck that mob. Fuck them. Yep. Like, who the fuck are they? Like, it's faceless. And I'm talking whoever. Like, you're good at your shit, man. Not a lot of people can say that. Like, everyone watches what we do in the arts. The people who are excellent at it make it look easy, and then a whole bunch of assholes come in and start trying to pick you apart and tell you how you're supposed to live your life. And you didn't, your line weights on page 4, panel 6. I don't know what you were thinking about, Sean. Those blacks were not very heavy there, and you promised us heavy shadows. That's what we expect when we pick up White Knight. God damn it, what the fuck's wrong with you? What's your address? I need to come to you and discuss this with you.
Oh my God. There's a panel on White Knight where I had Joker. He was getting beat up by Batman at the beginning, and Batman is shoving pills down his throat because he's had it.
God damn.
And Joker goes, "I can't breathe." And I people were like, "Oh, clearly this is a liberal," and Sean's making a point to make a statement about blah 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 blah. And I'm like, "No, man! Like the number one thing you say when you can't breathe is I can't breathe." Yeah. Right. But I think we're so triggered by wokeness that people are just like waiting for it. They're waiting for it to jump out of the bushes and grab them,
All right. In this tennis match, check this out. So obviously I destroyed all the Green Lanterns. But before I blew up all the Green Lanterns, I restructured the Green Lantern Corps. I stripped them of their jurisdictions and reassigned everybody. I went buck wild on this shit. Right. So a bunch of people have been asking me this is your commentary on defund the police. This is your commentary on this and that. And I'm like, not at all. Not at all. The Green Lantern is an unwieldy, gigantic organization, and they're trying to join the United Nations, and they have too much power. And if you're going to join a club with a bunch of smaller people, you have to put them at their ease. It has nothing to do with what's going on in the real world, which, by the way, I'm a gigantic Black Lives Matter supporter. I'm anti a whole bunch of shit. But when I want to write about that, I actually just write about that. You can go on my Medium channel, and if you want to get mad about some political shit, I got something for you. But I don't filter that shit through my comics. What are you talking about? That's some baggage your ass brought in with you. That's some weirdness you brought in. Everything in your life is filtered through these issues. So if you just write a phrase, people are like, oh, he's talking about that. I'm like, maybe the guy was choking in the context of the scene. Maybe the guy was literally choking, saying, I cannot breathe. If I'm underwater and I'm drowning and I'm yelling, throw me something, I can't breathe. It's probably not a comment on Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
God damn.
And the fact that I donated to BLM wasn't enough to get them to think I wasn't a secret
dude, you shouldn't be living like Trump. That. Nobody should be living like that.
Yeah, I'm done.
You shouldn't be living like that. I tell people all the time, you are not here to police my shit. You don't get to tell me how to talk. I don't have to show you what I do or don't do, who I do or don't support. Who the fuck are you to ask me any of this?
It's funny. There's a bunch of books in the slate right now, Batman, where the cops are overpowered, basically. And when I pitched my next, Batman book, I can't officially say what it is. They're like, well, a lot of people are doing this thread. You sure you want to do that? I'm like, well, I've been building up. I mean, I've done a heavily armed police thing for the last 2 books. I feel like I have to go with this. But then they've named all the other Batman books that are about to do GCPDs overpowered because everybody's reacting to the news, of course. And I said, but I guarantee you mine will be the only one that's balanced because I have I have cop friends, and I like cops. I hate bad cops, and I'm a reasonable dude. And I guarantee you, I'm the only liberal you have working on Batman who's going to try to do a decent job weighing out both sides. So, in my book, I have the GTO is overpowered, and GCPD starts pushing back. So you have good cops and bad cops. But all the other Batman books about cops that are about to come out, it's pretty much one-sided.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that. Bye, y'all.
Thanks for
I got into a thing, and it's in Hollywood too right now too. And it's so weird because I'm a big old lefty, guys. I'm an atheist lefty. Okay. Yeah, and occasionally I'll get in these conversations where I'm like, but we're not everything doesn't have to be an exclamation of how awful all the cops are. Like, is it part of our job, especially when you're writing heroes? I feel like, and I'm trying to do this in some ways with Green Lantern is a good example, is that I'm never going to have Joe Mullane say, look, goddammit, I'm a strong black woman, and you don't understand my situation because blah, 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 blah. I'm not doing any of that shit. You will never see those lines come out of any woman I write. What I will do is show an incredibly capable Green Lantern being treated as an equal by the other extremely capable Green Lanterns, and they're going to solve some problems, and they're going to take some lumps, right? And at the end of it, hopefully you go, oh, that's how it's supposed to be. That's how extremely good people in a horrible and a tough profession relate to each other. I don't have to do the one where, Guy Gardner goes off and starts police brutalizing some random alien so I can have my 5-minute showcase about, BLM. I'll just fucking march, guys. I'll actually go out in the real world and fucking march. God forbid.
No, it's funny. Also, Geoff, maybe you know about this too. Like, I'm an atheist lefty, and like, when did all the lefties start becoming like witches?
I don't know where that. I think that's generational. There's a whole bunch of witches out there, and I'm just like, but I feel that's a female empowerment thing, right?
Okay,
Oh, you mean like literally, like Wiccan?
Straight up real.
I missed that. All right.
Quote, I have many friends who are straight up real witches, and I don't. Yeah, but I don't fuck with them about it anymore. Look, my wife's Catholic. I go to mass with her. I don't take communion because I feel that would be disrespectful.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not really a member of your church. I'm not going to eat the wafer. But I sing the hymns. I love the priest. He's fucking great. He's one of those tough guy priests that's like goes to prisons and shit. And I'm just like, okay, if I'd met him when I was 15, I might be Catholic too, because this motherfucker's the shit.
Yeah. If I wasn't riddled by my counselor, then maybe I would have been into Catholicism too. Yeah. Not me. I'm just saying those out there.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying, right? Like, it's not my job to talk you out of your thing. So if these ladies feel personal empowerment and they feel bonding with each other and all of that, and they want to follow the Wiccan faith, that's no different to me than following Christianity or Judaism or anything else. Because I'm an atheist, so it's all nonsense to me.
Yeah, it's all insane.
Well, not everybody needs something.
Oh, I get that. Yeah, I wouldn't want to take away religion. I think a lot of people wouldn't know what to do with themselves. Like, I do think it is important for people to have it. It's just when you start voting against the rights of my friends, it's pretty much where I start to get weird.
Absolutely.
That's exactly it. What's the phrase? This is my favorite phrase from the Wiccan faith. I'm going to say it in regular English instead of the way it's said. If you're not hurting anybody, do what you want.
Yeah.
Right? And thou hurt none, and thou harm none, do as thou wilt. I'm like, that's better than the entire 10 Commandments.
Yeah.
Like, just don't fuck with anybody.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And what you said, as long as you're not hurting anybody.
You have like, do not steal or covet. You have that written down like 3 times. Why couldn't you edit Moses?
Yeah, you need an editor, dude. The book had a whole bunch of shitty editors. Like,
that's true. They excluded a lot of the stories. They're like, we don't need this whore in the book.
Let's not. And your own. Well, by the way, my wife is Irish American, so
you married a white girl. Awesome,
dude. I married
I'm so glad you took one of ours.
She married me. I am the lucky one. I am absolutely the lucky one. I definitely punched above my weight class.
Yeah.
But things like Christianity sweeping the world, but all the places that it sort of took hold, Irish culture did everything it could to hold on to its Irishness. Multiple African cultures did everything they could to hold on to their Africanness, which is why you have Saint Bridget instead of Bridget, who was a completely different person in the Irish the original Irish Celtic faith, right? That's why you have Santeria. That's why you have quote unquote voodoo. All of that is we're going to still do our shit, but we're going to pretend we're a little Christian about it.
That was part of the comic I did for Vault. She said destroy. There's the Bridget, the goddess, is in it.
Yeah.
And there's a whole bit about it where she basically betrayed the pantheon and became Saint Bridget to survive as her brothers and sisters were murdered. Like,
that's awesome. I need to read that shit.
Thank you, Bryant Baller. I appreciate you catching that.
Yes.
What happened?
I wrote. I said, "Oh, you took one of ours, Geoff."
I did. Well, you know what though? I pay for it in sarcasm.
You know, I know.
Your whole culture is literally based on sarcasm. The entire thing is based on sarcasm.
It's the Boston thing too. Like you just you show affection by fucking with people, and it's not really correct. You know.
Oh my God, it's fucking brutal.
Does she have any IRA ties?
I will not confirm or deny. But
that's fair. I actually do.
Of course you do. You're related to everyone.
You know everyone, Joe. Fuck you. He has both IRA ties and Frank Langella in the same fucking stream. God damn this dude. I was hanging out with Howard Chaykin. I was kicking it with Jesus Christ.
With that gay artwork.
Oh my God. What the fuck, man?
Oh my God. But yeah, my great uncle, Pat Power, was a sergeant in the IRA.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So my great grandmother, Beatrice, was very close with him. So,
so that would have been pre 1917. Way before. Way back before it was like before it got ugly. And, back when it was pure and they were freedom fighters.
He fled. He had to flee through Canada and then come down.
Right.
And then he spent the rest of his life as he worked as an ice cream truck driver. And just didn't talk about it. I'm pretty. I keep in touch with his granddaughter.
An Irish American who didn't talk about shit? No. What are you talking about? What the fuck do you mean?
Yeah.
Oh my
hey,
God.
Geoff, I'm offended by that. You can't call
how dare you?
What is this, St. Patrick's Day?
No!
As a straight white, non-obese white male, I am appalled, good sir.
These are my in-laws, goddammit.
Just because you married one, just because you married a ginger doesn't mean you're allowed to make
That's
jokes.
True. That's true. That's all true.
We didn't even get to my mob ties tonight.
So of course you have fucking mob ties. Of course you do. Of course you do, you son of a bitch.
St. Patrick's Day is cultural appropriation. John Murphy.
Well, isn't that weird though? I found out from my actual Irish friends that they're like, what the fuck is all the St. Patrick shit you guys are doing all the time?
Yeah.
We don't do all that.
The people in Ireland, like, we're not being treated like second-class citizens anymore in New York, so we don't care. They're like, make fun of us, whatever. Yeah. If you were actually being maligned, like if Irish people were, mostly being attacked by cops all of a sudden, then you might see them push back on St. Patrick's Day. But
there might be a little bit more aggressiveness. Yeah, exactly.
Irish are over it. The Italians are over it mostly. Yeah.
I think artists too are, by nature of our job, are extremely introspective a lot of times. Sometimes it turns into narcissism. So a lot of these things land where you're looking in a mirror every day and you're going, I think I'm a decent guy. And then this hundreds of people decided I'm a Nazi. I think I'm basically a decent person. And now suddenly I'm a misogynist because I said I like curvy girls in one tweet 10 years ago, whatever. And depending on who you are and what kind of how your ego's set up, that shit can land and make some really twisty, turny things out of a basically normal psyche, you know? And I just want to say, if you're a basically decent person all your life, this week the woke mob decides you're not, they're probably wrong.
There was actually, I saw this going on earlier today. There were people who were talking about.
I gotta bail, guys. My wife's giving me the hairy eyeball.
No problem. I'm sorry. It's almost 3 hours.
No problem. Good times, guys. I can't wait to see you both at the show.
Yeah, Geoff, it's some real life venue, man. Fucking A.
Absolutely.
Fuck yeah, dude. All right. So how do you wait for me, Geoff? We all know each other.
Yeah, you do. All of you do, and they all know Joe. Everybody fucking knows Joe.
Ladies, everyone.
God damn it. That guy's fucking great.
We'll wrap up in a minute, but
my wife's out of town right now.
Yeah, but I I was going to say that earlier today, what ended up happening was I saw people who were talking about like, don't correct, like they didn't want people correcting them their art on Twitter or giving them unsolicited advice unless it was to tell them they were problematic because they wanted to hear that.
Nope. I don't. Okay,
it was very weird to see that. Yeah.
Look, my best friend is the guy who designs action sequences. They used to call him storyboard artists, but after you get to a certain level, the director hires you and they just shoot what you draw. So you're designing the action sequences. And my best friend is that guy. And he also does art. He has an Instagram page. I'm not going to cite it now because I don't want you assholes jumping all over him. But occasionally someone will come in and they'll start, well, your foreshortening on this particular leg was blah, 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 which he's not like, he's just posting the art. Yeah. So he goes and looks at the person's website and it was like, dude, I wouldn't even hire you to like clean the brushes of my lowest employee. What are you fucking talking about? And by the way, this guy is a world-class artist. He's not like some, and I'm like, I think a lot of these guys just don't understand what the word criticism actually means.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if I'm working for you, Joe, like right now we're pals and everything, but if I come to work for a company and you're my editor, I've now signed a contract that gives you literally editorial oversight over my output. So it doesn't matter what I would like to do. My job is no longer just please yourself. And the other person I have to please, because you have literally purchased the right with this contract and this salary, you have purchased the right to come in and lean over my shoulder and go, I don't know, is that the right angle? Right? Like, that's why we send in the roughs. That's why I send you an outline. That's why, that's why you get to chime in. But what happens on the internet is people have misinterpreted, I don't like your comic book, with healthy criticism. Yeah. Right? You have to be skilled enough to offer healthy criticism. Yeah. It's not like all criticism is not equal. Like, if I talk to a junior writer about, and they have to ask me, I would never just dive on some writer, like, good, whether they're great or not. Like, I would never go, boy, that was some bullshit you wrote in that play that I saw last week. If you really wanted scene 2 to perk up, what you need to do is have that entrance come in 5 minutes later, and you need to cut all the dialogue from the old lady until the middle of the scene. Like, that might be true, but who the fuck asked me? Like, who asked me? Like, no one asked me. So, like, leave folks alone is a good rule of thumb from my point of view. But on the other side of that, a lot of artists have very thin skins because they get criticized all the time. And, for sure. Like, their art director might actually suck. The guy who actually is your boss might be really worse than you, but they get to tell you to draw poorly, and you can't say it. Yeah. So my God. But when does the next issue of Green Lantern come out? The 7th, and okay. It's it's like Christmas around here for me is when I get that box of comp copies. Comp copies. So the hard copies of issue number. Let me look at this thing. What is it? Issue number 5 just came in. I came in late because I was deadlining on Green Lantern, and I had to turn in issue 9, I think. And it's definitely going to get more heated going forward. The interesting thing about the covers, I've seen some discussion about the covers. The covers don't always match the interior. Yeah. I would consider the covers to be more of a vibe rather than like there's a scene in the book that is this. It's more like this is the vibe. But it's going to be an interesting. I think my contract runs out on issue 12. So we shall see. They've already solicited one of the trades, but there's no way the trade could be everything. So there'll probably be at least 2 trades off of it. And then I guess if the sales are up enough, then the story will continue. I hope it does, because there's going to be a couple of hanging chads that I would like to be the one to resolve. That'd be great. But yeah, I'm having a good time with it, man. And the artwork coming back is just, I wish I could show you some of this shit. Well, you'll see it in a minute. But like, both Tom and Marco have really settled into the book. I hope that DC doesn't shuffle the deck on me with them, because it's very much becoming their book, like, as opposed to hired guns on the new Green Lantern title. Now you can tell that they've like dug in, and
that's good.
It's big fun. Yeah, it's big fun.
No, you can tell when they haven't dug in or not. And I'm glad that you're it's working out, because
I'm happy.
Yeah, I mean, I know we've talked about it a bit, that there's a little bit of Legion lore that works its way in, and I know we're both Legion fans, so that's always nice to see. And
yeah, well, God knows if they ever threw that at me, I'd jump off of Green Lantern like a flaming truck.
My God,
to get my hands on the fucking Legion.
I desperately need a good Legion comic.
Oh my God!
I really do. I love. We talked about it before. People.
Yeah, we could do just a whole podcast on just how much I fucking love the Legion.
Oh my God!
And every era has something good in it. Like,
sure.
It's just fantastic. And you're right. There have been so many tries, and I'm not sure why people keep missing, because so many great talents have gone at it. It's it's not like they're grabbing random scrubs off some bus, come write the Legion. It's like, genius writer, come try your shot at the Legion, and they don't catch for some reason. So I don't know.
No, I mean, and even in the New 52, I mean, I read it all, I picked it all up, and I picked up all the trades for what Paul Evans was doing, but it still didn't. There was just something I still, didn't quite get where I wanted it to be. Even when they brought in Keith Giffen towards the end, what Ethan mentioning Geoff, Geoff did really good stuff with the Legion. There was that like passing the baton where Geoff was working on the Legion, and then Paul kind of ran with it. Like I have that close over here. The
there's
the
no
Superman
bad
and the Legion of Superheroes. I think I have it right.
Yeah, and that was the 3 Legions thing, right? That he did that.
Some of that, but the Jeff Johns, Gary Frank.
Yeah. That was rock solid. There's no bad Legion. There's no bad Legion.
This was great stuff.
There's either your favorite Legion or your not favorite Legion, but none of it is bad. I just love it.
It's so good. I mean, I lean back a lot to like Paul and Keith Giffen, and then obviously 5 years later and all that stuff.
Yeah, I'm a 5-year gap guy. Very much that. I love that so much. And that was ballsy. This is what we were talking about with Sean earlier. That was such a ballsy move. Like out of nowhere. It's now 5 years later, and nothing you thought was happening is happening. Like last week it was this week it's 5 years later. Holy shit.
And they were doing shit where you're reading it and you're like, oh my God, that was like one issue that like Grell did in the 70s, and you're referencing it, and you're like, oh my God. Like that. They reference like early on in that run, that one issue of Superboy where Mon-El sacrifices himself with his brother, and that whole switcheroo. I'm like, oh my God, this is so good.
Man. Yeah, and then what happens is I feel like the multiple crises of all the books that got hit really hard, I think they got fucked the most. Like, because coming off of that, and now who's popular in the present day, and all this shit now, and everything has to now match. Like the whole thing. Well, where does Commandy sit if the Legion is happening? Where the fuck is Commandy? When did that happen? And we went from Commandy world all the way back up to Legion, or is Commandy supposed to be after the Legion? Because what what is going on?
Yeah, and it's crazy because it helped Superman so much, and it like destroyed the Legion with Crisis to an extent. But like some of the stuff that like Marv Wolfman and like Gil Kane were doing before Crisis is some of the best Superman you're ever going to read in your life.
I agree, and I mean, we could go off on what I would do editorially overall with the line to sort of float everybody's boat, but. The short answer on that is if I ever got a chance to do Legion, whatever other book I was doing, I would literally shoot that book in the face so I could go take a shot at the Legion. But it's thorny because there's so many different versions. Yeah. By the way, somebody in the chat, I can't see what your name is because I'm too far away from the screen. But I'm currently too far away from the screen. But I did like Brian Michael Bendis' Legion. It is a very interesting take. It is not my favorite take, but it's by no means the worst take. I would say, I don't know what the worst take would be. I don't even know if there is a worst take. I don't know that there's a bad version. Like, there are bad versions of things. Like, I like Geoff Johns' Legion. I like Geoff Johns' Justice Society. I wasn't a big fan of Geoff Johns' Teen Titans at all. Right? So it's not like a great writer can't come in and do something I don't like with the concept. But I feel like the Legion might be bulletproof just because there's so many of them and there's so many ways to approach it. That,
it's hard to hit the same heights as 5 years later in DNA and all that. But
God. Well, what I'm trying to do with Green Lantern is very much in the spirit of the 5-year gap. Like, I feel like what Geffen did when he came in the Beer Bombs, which is slightly different than the Levitz version, because I think that was very epic. It was certainly epic.
Oh, sure, but
I think with his book, it was more Legion of Superheroes. Right? They were actually all superheroes, right? But with the Beer Bomb and Geffen run, they were more like superpowered beings who were defending this sort of civilization. So it was much more like a science fiction book in a lot of ways. And I think that was the flavor for the time. Obviously, we were of an age where that obviously appealed to us, very much so. And the Gap was great, introducing Kate Kono, the beer swilling or whatever the drink is that she like. Kono juice, right? Like, she named herself after beer. Come on. That's fucking great. Kent Shakespeare, a completely missed opportunity. Who doesn't love Kent fucking Shakespeare? So all these characters, and also it was an organic way to solve the diversity problems, right? All of a sudden you got all these non-white Legionnaires. They were just new Legionnaires. Like, here's new Legionnaires for you. I just, and the artwork, Jason Pearson gets started in that era. The whatchamacallit, the DNA, was that their first thing for Disney? I mean, for DC, because that was fucking. I love that. I love their version so much that when they put out that book Hypernaturals, which it was touted as, okay, so we didn't get to finish our run on the Legion. Come on over here and read the Hypernaturals, and you get a flavor of what we were going to do. I was already in the store before the sentence was finished. I was like, let's give me those Hypernaturals, goddammit.
And I mean, Tom Peyer did a lot of great little stuff with Legion. There was that one issue, it's like a one shot where he did it was like almost like a what if that was like a golden age kind of Legion if they existed in the golden age, and I love that issue.
Or the weird one-off. I wouldn't say it was weird, but this is the thing. You and Perch talk about this a lot. I don't line up exactly with your thesis about it always being that diverse, but in terms of the books that were coming out, the Legion of Superheroes, which qualifies as a mainstream, straight down the middle, almost like a YA superhero book, they did that one-off, that one story about a long-term character, Siobhan Aaron, who was trans. And they did the whole thing about how she was in love with Element Boy.
Element Land,
right? And that she'd gone through all of this shit that she could be appealing to him, even though she'd started life as a man. And that she had been presenting as a woman the entire time we've ever seen her. She's been presented as a woman. And they did this story, right? And then he comes back with, it doesn't matter what form you're in. Right, my culture. You went through a lot of shit for nothing, because I would have loved you whether you were a man or a woman. Don't even worry about that with me. And I was like, no big. There was not like, and this was a very special issue of the Legion of Superheroes, right? It was just boom. I don't know that you could get away with that shit now. I feel like that story, if it ever came to light right now, would have equal numbers of right wingers and left wingers trying to destroy the people who made it.
It's weird, but they were also they were tackling, DC in general was tackling a lot of trans issues in the 90s at that time. And they act like it never happened. And then they put out a DC Pride anthology that the only trans character it features is the one they created for the Supergirl show.
See, that's crazy to me. Like, no, you're fucking. But I will say this in the defense of whoever's making these things. It's not really a defense, because it's almost kind of in my dealings in Hollywood. I've been talking with, and it's not. You don't have to be at my age. I'm 50, but you don't have to be this old. But like, if you're in an industry, whatever it is, if I make a Jaws reference in a room full of people, if you're in Hollywood, everyone in that fucking room ought to be able to get the Jaws reference. If you don't know that that's a Jaws reference, you should not be in this industry, because that was a period in the industry that changed the industry. If you don't know you don't have to like Star Wars. You can hate Star Wars. But if you never watched Star Wars, and I mean what they're calling A New Hope, I mean original Star Wars, and don't know the story around it, you shouldn't be in this industry. And yet, there's a shitload of people in this industry who I have to explain The Godfather to. And I'm like, I'm not some old guy who worships the fucking Godfather. I barely like The Godfather. But it was a big deal for a reason.
Sure,
you should know that reason.
I'm a big fan of The Conversation.
Oh my God,
that movie blows my mind. I'm like, I like The Godfather, but The Conversation. I mean, Gene Hackman and just oh my God, man, so good.
Yeah.
What a good movie.
But now we're in our other industry, right? We're in the comic book industry, and I see a lot of short-term memory. I see a lot of short-term memory.
Oh my God!
People getting outraged, claiming something's the first time. This is the first time anyone's been brave enough. I'm like, fuck you. People were doing this like before you were born in some cases.
Well, I mean,
the fuck down.
And it's not new. I mean, back when Gale took over Wonder Woman, people erroneously credited Gale as the first woman to write Wonder Woman, and it's like, no, Roy Thomas's wife and Mindy Newell and Joyce, like that kind of stuff.
And give them their props, right? Like even if it's like, I would split on whether that was true diversity or not, because it was like one person per era or something like that.
Sure.
But what you want to say then, those are your Jackie Robinsons. Let's give them their fucking props. Right? Those are the ladies who broke the line, but you're acting like they never existed. And they didn't just not like Louise Simonson. She's fucking baller, right? She didn't just break the fucking ceiling. She's in there. And you never mention her. Sure. That's not you. Obviously, everything.
Oh, sure.
But right. But like a lot of these fucking kids, and I don't even know that they're all kids. They're just shallow learners. Like, know the thing you're talking about before you start spouting bullshit.
Yeah.
Like,
There was a con I was talking to, Wheezy at afterwards in like Camden a couple of years ago, maybe like 3 or 4 years ago. And, she's like, oh, people are making the standee banners for the tables. And she's like, I don't think, it's worth it. Like, why would what do I have to put on the
she's too humble.
And I had to be like, how do you not just you put Apocalypse, Cable, and Steel on that banner? I mean,
I created your favorite fucking characters. What do you mean? God damn, lady,
she is way too humble, but she's super sweet, and she's
gifted as fuck too. Kim Yale. Like we talked about, she's dead, right? She actually died.
Yes, she had passed away.
Her and John Ostrander, they were like, they were the shit.
Yes,
I mean, like they're part of the reason I like writing comics now. Like I don't know what I would do if I ever met John Ostrander, and if Kim Yale was still alive, I don't know what the fuck I would do if I was ever in the same room with either one of them. I would not be able to talk about writing. I'd just be a fan of. I wish I had my comics. You could sign all of them. Because they did shit that like people forget. They're Oracle. Oracle is theirs, right?
Yeah.
The Martian Manhunter that people like now, that's John Ostrander.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
The Spectre he did with
the fucking Spectre. I used to call him Os and the Drake. Like I was just like, those are my dudes. Dude, they picked up the fucking Spectre, which I had not liked since Jim Aparo was drawing it, and turned it into some cool ass shit. They picked up Firestorm. They made Firestorm cool. I was like, holy shit.
There were people at the Marvel office at the time that the Spectre was coming out, that Ostrander was doing, that adored that book, that thought it was one of the best books that was coming out. And John actually had to fight to keep that book from going to the Vertigo line.
Really?
Yeah, because they naturally thought
it's so good. Let's make it Vertigo with all the other grown-up shit.
And he was like, nope.
Sorry,
we're not doing that. We're keeping it the DC main line. That
main DC line. No, and that's what I was talking about with Sean. It doesn't matter what form you're writing in. There are some people who are just magnificent at it, and some people are okay at it, and some people who suck at it. And it bothers me that Louise is that humble, because you're not really. I used to tell people, I'm not being arrogant if I can actually do the stuff I'm saying. It's only arrogant if I can't do it.
Yeah.
Right. If it's an accurate description of ability, then you're not being arrogant.
Yeah.
So you shouldn't worry so much about how other people are going to take you, because they're going to do whatever the fuck they want anyway. Like, they're going to decide anyway. So you should just be you, you know? And it bothers me that I'm a big Star Trek guy.
Sure.
Right. But my favorite Star Trek writer is DC Fontana, not Gene Roddenberry. And, you know, Trekkies would say she's the mother of Star Trek, but she doesn't get any near the conversational props that Gene does, when most, I would say at least half of the shit that you love about Star Trek came out of that lady's head.
Absolutely.
Like, straight up out of her head. And she had to call herself DC instead of Dorothy, because ladies weren't writing science fiction shows back then. So she had to pretend to sort of visually look like a man so that there was some whatever. And I'm like, but why be humble about it? Like, I'm the fucking mother of Star Trek. I'd have a fucking t-shirt that said that shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, God damn, man. Like, it also diffuses, like, what's his name? Klaus Jensen being gay and not giving a shit. Like, sure. I'm just gay. Here I am being gay, whatever. Like, we say out, but he's like, I'm just here being Klaus. I'm just here being Klaus. Right? But if all of that's always in the mix, then you don't have as much craziness now, 20 years later or whatever. People aren't forgetting, because it was never there to be forgotten. It was just, these are the people making your favorite books. And we're not going to not discuss it. We're not going to discuss it. If he's mentions his husband, we're not going to go, oh my God, you've got a husband? You know, like, it's just in the mix. It's just part of the mix. Like, yeah.
And you've done some Star Trek related stuff, right?
I've written some short stories and a novel for them. And for the media tie-in stuff. It was great fun. I mean, I'm deep Trek, man. I love Star Trek.
So you know all those guys, you know, like was it Aaron Rosenberg and David Mack and those guys?
Oh yeah, me and David are good pals. I know Mr. Rosenberg somewhat. I think I mean we're working on some stuff in the Crazy Eight space.
Nice. I know the Crazy Eight guys, Glenn Hahn.
They brought and all them. They brought me in the Crazy Eight press. So there's 10 in the Crazy Eight now. And we're doing some stuff. We got a Kickstarter up now, and I think it's just funded.
Well, Mary Fan, I think is
Mary. Yeah, she's in. Hildy,
Paul Kupperberg doing stuff there with them too, right?
Fucking A, yes he is. Peter David's in there, which freaks me out every time he shows up to a Zoom meeting.
Oh my God, I grew up watching Space Cases.
Yeah, right. And he's Peter fucking David, man. He's the man who made me like Aquaman. Like, that's another, like all the kids again. They're like, Peter David gave you that Aquaman. The Aquaman is in the movies right now. That is 100% Peter David. Like, all of that shit came out of his head. So, whatever. But so I don't know. I mean, the Star Trek thing is fun. I wanted to go back and do novels, but it got too hairy. The time commitment was weird, and the money's, it sucks. I talk about money too much probably, but it starts to be time management versus pay is what it starts turning into. And like, you want to do it, you really want to do it sometimes. And then it's just like, but I can't devote 3 months, 4 months to this thing that's only going to pay me X. When over here, if I write 3 animation scripts, that's maybe a month to do, and it gets me like 10 times what I would make doing this other thing. Like, sometimes you just can't. So, Kirk or Picard? Kirk or Picard? Kirk or Picard? Do I have to choose between both of my dads? Why do I have to choose between both of my dads? Oh, I know. Pike. Christopher Pike, motherfucker. How about that?
There you go.
I choose Christopher Pike. Oh, man.
Oh, my God.
But I think going back to the Legion, I think Legion was basically part of the reason it works is that on some weird philosophical level, it was kind of DC's Star Trek.
Yeah, and absolutely.
Maybe it's too hopeful for the current audience. Maybe that's the problem, that people keep trying to darken it up to match what they think is out in out in the public when the whole thing of it is sort of aspirational and hopefulness, and these young people trying to do. It's almost like they're the Space Peace Corps in a weird way, right?
For sure.
And I don't know that there's an appetite for the Space Peace Corps out in the world right now. I wish there was.
Yeah.
I don't know. Green Lantern just Django. Green Lantern is Star Wars. It's funny you should say that. And that's all I'll say about that. Yeah. So what's next? How many more Beck stars are there going to be?
We're going to go to at least issue 5.
Okay.
There's going to be it's going to finish what this is so far. We might go on after that. We'll see. But I'm still working on some other stuff with some publishers. I should have another book announced this year.
Okay.
I have about 4 issues in the can of this one thing, so it should be announced soon.
Okay.
I just got character designs back from another book.
Nice.
So I'm going to be
you're all over
that. Yeah, no, it's been good. I'm talking to a couple of other publishers. I actually sent off a pitch to another publisher today that I had a call with earlier in the week, where the editor there was just like, I like what this is, but let's flesh it out a bit. And so I worked on that, fleshed it out, sent it off today. So that would be for an original graphic novel. So we'll see about that. And
so you're doing way more writing than editing now.
Right now, yeah, I'm editing a YA OGN and this anthology. I have another anthology that was put on the back burner that will hopefully come out by the end of the year as well. And I have a few other people who have hit me up about editing that I'm working on some things. But I'm definitely doing more writing now. I'm doing writing. I'm doing co-writing. There's other people I got to follow up with too on some things, but things are moving. I'm really excited about this one that I have the 4 issues in the can. Like, I've been working on it for a while, so I'm glad that hopefully that'll come out soon, and that'll be a nice announcement.
Stylistic swing away from what you're doing with Beckstar.
Yeah, this is a much different kind of book. This is a book that tackles the sort of the club kid era of New York nightlife, and then going to today and the things that have changed.
You know what that makes me think of? Remember that book, Baker Street, Guy Davis, about the punk scene in London, and it was basically Sherlock Holmes, but as if Sherlock Holmes, again, what was this, the late 80s, early 90s? Yeah. Female, gay Sherlock Holmes, punk rocker in 1980s London. And I'm like, come on, you guys are not inventing the fucking wheel, guys. You just don't know enough about comics. Oh man, that would be fun. The Club Kid era is probably completely forgotten by modern audiences.
I love. There's a Geraldo analog and stuff like that, because for research I read, I went back and read the Party Monster book.
Okay, wait. Someone in the chat is asking, "Do you have anything for DC or Marvel, Joe?" That's from
nothing.
William Tucker.
Nothing signed or anything like that. So you never know. But that's. I do technically have a Dark Horse credit because I edited Planet Earth, which is coming out through Dark Horse next month.
Nice.
That's as a graphic novel. I edited that for Comixology Originals. So
yeah, I got a couple of friends doing that. I'd love to get in some of that Comixology action.
I know Chip. We could talk.
You're the second person who knows Chip, and I don't fucking know Chip. Whatever. Yeah, we should talk. Yeah, I've got three indies I want to drop. So
yeah, I hooked up. What was it? I talked to Chip to hook him up with Mark Guggenheim. So I'm sure that.
Oh man, yeah. But I don't have those kind of names though, dude. It's easy to hook Mark fucking Guggenheim up with. Jesus Christ. I'm just some schmo.
Figure it out.
well, whatever. We'll talk about it. There's no rush on any of it.
But,
I'm still getting the work done.
But yeah, we should probably cut off this stream now because we've been going for over 3 hours. And
yeah, well, we owe it to Perch, and we gotta, we gotta put all the stuff back where it's supposed to be before he gets home. So, Perch.
Perch. No one tell Perch about everything that happened after you left. Just
yeah, the lamp was always that way. The lamp was, that's the phrase we want to remember. That lamp was always there, and it always had that crack in it. Always.
Yeah. This is all between us. Don't tell Perch. All right. So thank you everybody for showing up, for little old me, for Geoff, for Sean, and thank you all you people that stayed after.
Holy shit, we went so fucking long. Yeah, after Sean left, and you still. Yeah. God damn.
To hear us talk about like the Bourbons
and we love for the Legion. You guys are
and Star Trek novelizations. What
that's doing? Bizarre. I'm so pleased I finally got to meet that guy. He's such a good I wasn't kidding. If I could draw like him and write, I would not mess with any of these other things. I would just I'd be cranking out graphic novels all the time.
Yeah, for sure. But yes. Thank you, each and every one of you who showed up. Thanks to all the people who, even if you already left, we really appreciate it. Thank you.
Perch appreciates it. This is a golden channel, and you guys make it that way.
Yes. So again, thanks each and every one of you, and hopefully we're back next. Hopefully Perch is back next week.
Yeah. By the way, is Mumble still here? Is Mumble still in the chat?
I didn't see Mumbles.
It's not a Perch and Geoff show. Perch, Geoff, Joe show. If I don't say "fuck you, Mumbles" at least once.
I don't know. Maybe Mumbles is Perch. We don't know. It's
Mumbles can't be Perch. That would be horrible. Oh,
it would be terrible writing, but I don't put it past the.
Yeah, but he could do it. Yeah, he might do it. That's something he might do.
But yes, all right.
All right, we're done.
Enough of this. Thank you very much. We're ending the broadcast. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the rest of your week.
Be well, be safe. Bye, guys.